stuff we're not on Midport, but I think if you see the TV come on around the air.
This 638 hospital, that was voted down, so
What's that?
that hospital, 638 compacting,
Oh,
that was
Yeah.
voted down, so
that's from last year,
really? So I don't think.
but
we
they
should-
won't ask that then.
Yeah.
I think Rose will notice that. Good evening, Mitaka. Mombigleska will Okia Hemelot. Ushmalot Kashla. I'm gonna have, we're people of prayer, so I'm gonna ask, for my Kola Royal before I introduce myself and further the prayer, support me start with the prayer, a check, because we're people of prayer, so, well, not Kola. Royal, yeah.
Yeah, today I should have mentioned Buffalo, shake everybody's hand from my heart. I want to share a song from our 1851-1868 treaty, and translation would be Kola Daku Otefika, our hardships that our people endure. So it goes on to say, Ima Kuapalo, through your mouth. Put it here. And so this song, it was sung during our meetings. It's a meeting song. The song with a meaning of our people. It goes back to those meetings. Omnicha Aloan, they called it. And I learned it from some elders who I passed on. So I want to sing that and then a small prayer for this evening. Chawopala to everybody at offer and also Energy.
Imago wa pelo he hey hai na we cho wa inkte ki le wa velo ai ele petoni chapik ta khale ta ke wanga la kapina oyate ke marshal chop lo na to na charge le na Ikoi kapina ha le tan wogala kapina ha ta koste chet ke honki chapik tolo na waki papi na with watch topic that we chose anik tolo na taka ga kajo chose anik tolo na dona watch ke chete dona kuju tibik ta papi no kiksapik ta na we chose anik na walking tolo watch chapulo mitakyo muzanik tolo mitakasi
Yeah. Wopala Kola Royal, appreciate that very much. Again, my name is Ronald L. Neese, Senior. I'm with the coordinator with the Oyate Preparedness and Equal Representation, or OFFER. We're a tribal voters empowerment organization. We also do a tribal homelands outreach, and we have candidates forums. We had one last week, and a couple were here last week, so there was a guest in the community, I'm going to ask Rose if she could talk about that a little more, about who we lost, so we thought it wise that we continue to this week. We didn't know it for sure if we'd even have another one. It's very last minute. So some people did ask to be excused, and I'll list them later. We'll have a halftime, and I want to talk about the upcoming Cherry Tot Electric Cooperative Annual Meeting, and why it's important that we get there. We're in danger of losing one of our Native American representatives on that seat, So the other offer folks, the other coordinators are with myself. You see, Rose Cordier, she's like a co-founder, as is Paula Antoine. Paula is she's doing some stuff with mining, uranium and the like to the opposition, not just by Native Americans, but farmers and ranchers and others that that also are there to protect Unchimaka, grandmother Earth. So that's what their role is. Paul is also doing that, always doing that. Well, she would have been here, and I'll list those people that want to be excused later. Uh, so I'm going to be turning it over shortly here to Rose, and she'll explain what's happening here. I say sometimes by let you guys know something about even about 3 minutes and my little sign 1 minute, that and Rose will be giving the dates and the candidates. If you guys could read the candidate list and the date of the general election. I'm on the election board also, so I don't try to involve myself too much in that. Just remember that offer when we do these, we're nonpartisan. We're not supporting one candidate over the other. But you guys, this is a tremendous opportunity for you to people know who you are. This is on channel 93. This is on Koyo Radio. This is on YouTube. That's the YouTube celebrities. Watch us out later. And so remember, some people were here last week, and if you're a candidate, if you're listening or watching, you can come by anytime. Just come by anytime you want. These are your council chambers. They belong to all of us tribal members. So come here, make your views known, what you stand for, what your visions are. And so I don't be asking what an interview was. I see something. This is actually a forum interview. And if you look at a forum, you let yourself know what you stand for, who you come from, who your ancestors are, what your ideas are. So look at the way it is an interview. It's both. So that's enough for me for now, and I'm going to turn it over to Rose. And Rose, I'd just like to have half time to talk about some of these other things. So I'll turn it over to Rose now.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie. I was just gonna say the rules for tonight, since right now, we only have 4 candidates here. Every candidate was invited to come, and it was a little bit short notice because last Monday we did cancel due to the great loss of our good friend Valerie Crazybull. So out of respect, we canceled the forum, and we decided to go ahead and have something tonight. And tonight, when the candidates speak, we're not going to go through all the questions we had planned for last week. We gave out a list of questions, and we're going to ask you to go ahead and pick one or two that you want to talk about. And then we have the Tokala Inagio Youth Group here, and they also have a few questions that they'd like to ask on behalf of the youth of the reservation. So we'll go ahead and start. Ronnie's going to be the timer, and we'll just go down the line here, and we'll first of all, go ahead and just stand up and introduce yourself, talk about yourself. I always give a little bit of advice to people when they're in the forum too. If we give you 3 minutes to talk, go ahead and take the full 3 minutes, because you're going to need it. People want to know who you are. They want to know what your plans are. They want to know what your platform is. Especially this election is a crucial election for our people. In the past election, we had a good change on the council, and we're hoping for that again this year, that we get a good selection of people who will represent us really good, because our tribe needs good leadership right now. And we're counting on some really good candidates, and they're all good candidates. So it's really hard for us to pick. That's why tonight's very important, because some of us still don't know who we're going to vote for on Thursday. And we want to hear what your ideas are. So why don't we go ahead with Royal? You go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. The Royal Yellowhawk Hida community, water Kentucky. My family is Sandra Blackcrow and Royce Yellowhawk Sr. and also Chris Yellowhawk, Nooks Camp, and also Nellie Hedog, Blackcrow,
I take my grandfather's name, Royal Black Crow. So with that, I want to say that Oyate ke chate I encourage voters to come out and vote. I've been here in the seat and a lot of endeavors within the past terms, working on the amendments to the conflicting amendments to the Constitution in 2007. I chaired governmental affairs, also sat on various committees. So I'm just looking at forward days to come. I think that visiting with the elderly and and visiting with people on our tribal government, I know that our traditional form of government, our communities, 20 communities, originally it's supposed to be 7. So I understand how our people govern themselves in the past. And I look forward to trying to implement some of that So I'll say that much. Thank you.
Okay, Rodney, go ahead.
My name's Rodney Bordo. My father is Rodney Bordo Sr. My mother is Jody One. I've been around politics my whole life, and many people throughout the communities know my dad and my mom through everything they've done. And what I'm really here to stand for is to tell the people to vote, because a lot's been going on throughout the past few years, and that's really what made me want to run, is to try to work hard for our communities. There's 20 communities, like he said, and very little people who get elected go to these communities and check up on them. There's a lot of community meetings where even their own community representative doesn't show up. And I'm here to stand up today to tell them that if elected, I will stand for them, each community, and work hard. Our tribe really struggles with laziness as the past few years. Every winter we've been struggling, and a lot of people don't get their voice heard. There's a lot of council meetings that go into executive, especially with committee meetings. The youth, elders, and our people should be present in every one of those meetings and have a voice. And that's just what I really stand on, and that's just to start off.
Yes, Rose, go ahead. Your turn. Oh, yeah, you can sit. Stacy.
Getting older now, so. Oh, I forgot to turn this on. Sorry. I'm Rose, two-strike Stenstrom, and I'm from the Ring Thunder community. I'm originally from Ring Thunder. That's where I was born and raised at. And so it's different for me, to really, like other candidates, they move around a lot from communities. So some of them aren't originally from those communities, but I think I'm probably about the only one that's originally from there. And my parents are Floyd Two-Strike, and he was from the Two-Strike community, and my mother was Harriet Blue Thunder, and she was from Ring Thunder. And my grandparents are on my father's side, it's Louis Two-Strike and Lorraine Six-Toes. Lorraine was from Swift Bear originally, and on my mother's side, my grandparents were Harry Ring Thunder from Ring Thunder, and my grandmother was Bessie Six-Toes from Swift Bear. Her family was originally from like the Corn Creek area, and they migrated toward Swift Bear. So so that's my family, and I pretty much know my history going way back. And one of my Indian names goes way back to like about 7 generations, because that a lot of the native names that come down, it comes down through the families, from the different generations. And the reason why, I wanted to run for council think I have a lot to offer. I don't have any bad habits. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't gamble. I don't do anything that, anything like that. So you guys are probably thinking I'm boring, you know? But, I was, like I said, I was born and raised out in the community, out in the country. So I pretty much know the country life and, compared to the, you know, the ones that live in town. And my interests were, you know, like in education, sober leadership, and, you know, helping the grassroots people because I've noticed that, you know, in the past, you know, administrations that they get left out. Even with this home repairs, I noticed that people who really didn't need home repairs are getting their homes repaired, and there are still those ones that are still out there, you know, patches, you know, over their house using tarp or, you know, whatever. And you guys probably see that when you go through the communities too. And, you know, they need help. We need to kind of get back down to the basics instead of, I don't know what, you know, what we're doing nowadays, but I think we're really failing, and it really shows up in our youth, even adults, you know. When I was growing up, you never seen, you know, like people practically living on the street. Here now, if you notice, we have them. And it's sad to see that because, you know, we're failing our people when they get that far. And the other thing I don't like is seeing homes all boarded up in these communities. You know, what's wrong with our housing? You know, why are they, you know, why are these homes sitting there all boarded up? And if you guys really want to see something that's really bad off, is try going to those apartments there in Mission. You know, years back, those apartments, the Sunrise, they used to be nice apartments, and here now, when you go over there, it's like third world. You know, they've got big old trash piles here and there. You know, it's really sad to see when our reservation is heading that way. And for some of these questions, you know, the first one on that, you know, tribal code of ethics, we really need that. We need ethics in all of our lives, no matter who it is. You know, I don't care if it's a tribal president or, you know, one of the employees or whatever. We need that, and we can't be letting people slide either. You know, I've noticed that, you know, people, you know, get away with things, and that's not good to see, because that really sets a bad example for our youth, that, you know, after a while it becomes normal, no one says anything about it. And anyway, I'm trying to hurry. And and the other thing is, you know, with IHS, we do need improvement really bad. I'm probably about the best example because I complain a lot about IHS, but that's a moot issue. And homelessness, lack of housing, those are some of the things that, you know, we need, you know, in a lot of our communities, because there are still people that have, you know, like 3 families in one household. And, you know, and there's a lot of homelessness. That's about it. You know, something needs to change there. And the, you know, committee structure, tribal structure. Yeah, I sat on the council before, and I saw how some of this operates. You know, when you get on the council or when you get into any administrative positions, you need to keep your word. You need to be there for the people. Because I noticed that a lot of them, once they get into office or whatever, they forget about going to work. They forget about going to these committees. I've watched council people come in here, sign in, or, you know, whatever, you know, make the roll call, and then a little while later, they're gone for the rest of the day. And the committees, I was just talking to someone today, and they were telling me, yeah, this is the only committee that meets a lot. You know, they're always there, whereas other committees aren't. And that needs to change, and we need people that are, you know, that are committed. And when I was on the council before, I attended all of my meetings, and I stayed there all day too, unless I had a doctor's appointment. That was the only time I left. But I'm not one of those that come and, check in, to let people know I'm here and then leave. I'm not one of those types. I like to see things, completed, throughout. And with treaties, I've been involved in treaties for a long time. My great grandfather was one of the treaty signers. So, my mother's father, he was always, part of the traditional treaty group. So I always helped. I never, really said anything, but I helped, with cooking, setting up their meetings, that type of stuff. So I used to hear a lot. And climate change, that's something we really need to pay attention to because it is coming and we can't write that off or say that it's not, it's not there because it's real. This has been going on for quite some time. It's even in our traditional stories or predictions. We all know that our people, survived 3 other, world cleansings. And this one here is going to be our 4th. The first 3 were all natural disasters that, that the world went through, animals. And this 4th one, we all know that, from when we were growing up, we always heard that this 4th one was going to be created by man, that we were going to do this to ourselves. We're not us, you know who I'm talking about, corporations and that type of stuff. So we need to pay attention to that and and how our people survived was they moved. But nowadays we can't just move. We can't move our houses, go over here, to get away from disaster or anything like that. And I kind of went through that. And with this other one, with the youth group, this 1723, I feel like I'm giving away the answer.
You don't have to answer about once,
Okay, that one there's the boarding school issue. And those are things that, we need to also consider in our daily lives because it affects us. It affects, our thinking, the way we behave and stuff. And so we need to pay attention to some of that. And we still have people out there. We still have, kids that are out in some of these areas that need to be brought back too. So those are things we need to pay attention to. And anyway, in supporting them, there's just ways, traditionally and, like the youth group, they were doing, some things, working with some of the adults and that's good because it helps, people get things off their chest and, talk about it instead of, hiding it because for the longest time, people didn't talk about these things. Nobody asked them or anything, so they lived with, some of the abuses, that they went through. And what else was I was going to mention?
The questions, there's just 3 minutes, we're going to expand it to 5 minutes. But those questions, I think, Rosa, so because Russell's wondering about the format is, it said you could pick 2 of those questions. I know that you could answer at late, that you want to answer, but there's going to be not every question. That's the whole series of questions. You don't have to answer there won't be enough time to go to every single one. It's up to the moderator share. But Russell, could you explain that a little more too? And then after Rose gets done, because Russell's wondering, what procedures are, but we could please wrap up, Rose.
All right. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm dependable. I'm reliable. Like I said, I have no bad habits and I'm willing to work with, anybody. And because our people need help and especially our youth. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you, Rose. Okay, guys, we're going to go to 5 minutes, okay? So Rose, can you explain a little bit to Russell?
Okay, right now we're just doing the introductions. So just introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself, brag yourself up so you can get some votes. And then we're going to go into the questions. We have some questions online. People are welcome to go on YouTube and pose some questions and we'll try and get to them. But we have one that someone's asking, every candidate to speak on. So I hope we can get to that. Foster, go ahead. It's your time.
Yeah, so it's 5 minutes so, but members of 1 minute deal, so, but you get 5 minutes, no? But I'm not just cutting everybody off, so I wouldn't do that.
Dua dayan wachiang kapi, dua online, anachoptan pilamayapi, lemie foster kunar Hogan imachiapi, jamaza wakbala imacha he ashwada, makizita wakba otuma he elwati. Inawa ikin Beth Hogan echiapi, adewa ikin Felix Jr. echiapi. Unchi chikin Marilyn Hogan and Annie Felix Ewichakia, Gagala King, Tom Hogan and Butch Felix Ewichakia, Mahasani Karmsholdis Echiapi, Unchi Marilyn Hunkuki Pearl Guru Kanoyer, Atguku King Foster Kanoyer, Wososo wakpa imataha. Unchi and Gaka na ata tranka keki. On uspe kwa bayate king gluhukte. Ana wahopta na le echamukte. Dagugu dopa washtewalake kintala umaspe. Tatanka king kupikte lako vayute unkiglu hapi peji washtemana pejuta unkichakapi unko wojupi lakotiapi wa unkakapikte. Hello relatives, my name is Foster Kunar Hogan. It's good to see you all that are here, and to those that are online, thank you for listening. My name is Foster Kunar Hogan. I grew up in Ironwood area. My parents are Beth Hogan and Ed Felix. My grandparents are Marilyn Hogan, Tom Hogan,
Hello?
Annie and Butch Felix. My partner is Carm Sholdis. We live in White River. My elders always told me to go get an education and come back to help the people, and I took to their advice, and I'm doing that. And that's what I want to do. There's four main things that I'm really passionate about, and that I have some knowledge on, that I'd like to bring forth. And that's bison restoration, Lakota food sovereignty, growing of medicinal marijuana, and the Lakota language. And I'll save the rest of the time for the rest of the questions. Pilamea.
Okay. Okay, Russell, it's your turn.
Oya tona anokoptana kapiko trokahia iuha chonte washtana pechuza pelo. Ela kotia woglaka ki lelila wowita hetra. Nala kshila misaki biankina uspeichi chonka lila wiblushki. I'm really thankful to all of you who are listening. I know there's many questions that are being asked of us on why we're running or who we are. But I just wanted to mention this young man sitting next to me, learning his language. It's really means a lot to me. For a while there, I was kind of not feeling good about losing a lot of our people, the fluent speakers. And today we are a minority here. Back when this reservation was established, majority of our people spoke the language. In 2024, that reduced it to probably less than 500 fluent speakers here on the Rosebud. So to me, that's troubling. But I'm now you give me hope, young man. I thank you for that. But I wanted to, talk a little bit, and I was hoping, I came here last time and spoke, And I was hoping that some of our candidates for the president and other council members, and I kind of wanted to hear them because normally when you're running for office, you have to have some sort of an agenda on why you want to run, and especially for leadership. When you have a president or chairman running for office, you need to know what their positions are. And for me, I'm running for vice president. But I have to know the role of the leaders because, you know, I have my own ideas. I have my own thoughts. I hear a lot of thoughts from some of the candidates here on how we can make changes. And it's really hard to do. When you have 20 people sitting here and only 11 people show up, and sometimes we have to wait for a quorum. Then we get into emergency legislation. Somebody questioned the committee structure. We have a committee structure in place to cover the whole tribe's operation. And that's where you can go and hash out your differences and then bring forth proper resolutions or motions to tribal council. But now we're getting into a time where everything is emergency legislation. And so it's hard to understand, you know, some of these resolutions. There was a time when I first came on the council that if they proposed a resolution, we would take it back to our communities, explain it to them, and then they tell us how we should vote. I don't think that structure is not there anymore. Our communities are kind of in the dark majority of the time because many of us run for this position and we don't report back to our committees or communities. So then people are, you know, upset. But one of the things, I'm running for vice president of this tribe, and again, that position is really limited. You know, you step up in place of the chairman if he has to go to a meeting or if he's in DC all the time and you have to conduct business and he allows you to run or chair the council. So everything hinges on the tribal chairman. You know, there is a lot of power there. The vice presidency is just, you know, I'm running because I can make a difference. I can do a lot. I can say a lot. Fortunately, I can speak the language. I wanted to be in a position where I can maybe at least report back to our communities, maybe on the radio, maybe on this channel that we're on. I'm not too familiar with technology today, but, you know, I have the gift of speech, and I can always interpret, you know, all these laws that are being placed in front of us and explain it to our people why we change these laws. So that's kind of going to be my contribution. You know, if I'm elected as vice president, then I can do things. I can do a lot. You know, I have a track record. If anyone wants to check my track record, you know, by all means, do it. So you know, I have something to offer yet. You know, I'm not perfect like Rose over here, but I still have a few vices, you know. But you know, we're running for office because we are interested in this tribal government, and it's really hard to make changes here when you're sitting here. I sat here for many years. I see Rodney Bordo Sr. over here. You know, I sat in this place for many years. And I really, sometimes you try to make a difference. Man, we could talk about it for hours and we all get gung ho, and then as soon as that's done, it just goes away. But we have some really good questions that were presented here, and I'd like to, and if we get allowed some more time to address these, I'm really want to. You know, I've been working with the Ocala Youth Group, and I think they're the most neglected program here on the Rosebud. They're trying to do a lot, especially mentoring our youth. Mentoring our youth is so important, and they have that capability. You know, we talk about boarding schools. They were the ones out in the forefront when we brought some kids back from Carlisle. Today, they had a opening up here on top of the hill, honoring those ones that were brought home, but still remembering what happened to people in the boarding school days. You know who showed up? No leader showed up. Just a handful. But I always tell these youth, a handful can make a difference. And so we did. We did our prayer. Originally, they wanted to put it on the east side of the road, but apparently, I guess there's a veterans honoring going, or something's going to be built there. So they had to move behind the ball field. So if you go up on the hill right now, you'll see that big old sign. You'll miss it if you're coming down, but when you're going back up, you'll see that. That's so important to us. You know, when we talk about language, when we're losing our language, majority of the people that come up to you and say, I can't speak my language because my grandparents or my parents went to boarding school and they didn't teach us. You know, that was the excuse that people had, that they cannot learn the language anymore because their parents or grandparents didn't want them to learn. And here we are. Example, the young man sitting next to me went out and did it on his own. Still got little kinks and things here and there, but I'm really, it makes, I feel a little pride that our youth are trying to learn our language. We give a lot of lip service to our language here on the tribal council, and nothing results after that. One of the things that really trouble me is there are monies coming in, especially through this pandemic period, and we had an opportunity to get a lot of money to build permanent structures in our communities to house in case the storm hits us. We need a place to run to, and we blew it. I was on the council. We hired people for management, and they never followed through on these grants. And we spent a lot of money, emergency managers, and so it's like we take one step forward and two steps back, and it's the history of this. You can see. I said that last time. We come here, everybody gets elected, and we have a month of honeymoon period, as my nephew over there sitting in the corner saying, he talks about that honeymoon period. He likes that term. But, and then after that, we get into these cliques, and pretty soon we're out after each other or after administration. And, this whole system needs to be repaired. This whole system needs to come out of the place they're at right now. And I'd like to make a difference. I can make a difference. You know, when I left the council here, I said, I'm a resource person. Use me. A couple of programs did. And I'm really proud to be able to go work for them doing things on a cultural basis or the language. So, but coming here, you know, it's a dog eat dog world, this tribal council, and we need to get away from that thought pattern. You know, we need to make things work. So I guess you know, I have a lot to offer. I have a lot to say. If I'm given the time to answer specific questions, I can do that. But I want to be of service to the people. You know, I spent 23 years here, and I'd like to spend another 23 years here. I might be walking like President Biden, but I'm still moving. You know, I'm still in movement. So thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm proud to be here. I wish we had a room full of people. Yeah. Thank you. Wopile chichiapelo.
Those people, explain it to Steve, what's happened here tonight, what the procedures are on the light.
Okay, thank you, Russell. Yes, we just had another candidate come into the room, and he is running for president. So it's good to see another of the top dogs here tonight. So we're just taking this time to introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself, why you want to be the president of the tribe, and we'll go into the questions on the next round. And we do have a lot of people watching on YouTube tonight, so do your best. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, good evening. My name is Steve Denoyer Jr. I'm 54 years old. I'm from the Oak Creek community. I've been married for 35 years and to Cecilia Spotted Tail. And together we have 5 children. I've lived in Oak Creek my whole life. I've served on the council for over 15 years. During that time, I've sat on every committee and board that the tribe has to offer except for one, and that was the casino board. And I did that so I can learn. When I first got elected on council, I sat here and I didn't say anything for 3 months, but I got on every committee that I could. I sat on 9 committees my first term, and I just read and I learned the structure. And luckily, I had people like Russell and Wayne Bushnell and Lionel Bordo and Eddie Farmer. Those guys were all really well versed in how the tribe processes went. And I learned a lot from them, just listening to them, listening to how they talked. Rodney was part of that as well. I sat, I think, 2 or 3 terms with Rodney before he became chairman. And my last council term, in the middle of the term, we were having such a big problem with meth and our youth that I felt I could make a change, becoming the chief administrator of the tribe. We didn't have a drug task force at the time. And when I went up there and left here, the one thing that I realized right away is tribal council and administration have no clue what's going on in communities. They don't know the seriousness of the crimes that are being committed to not just adults, but to children. And when during Rodney's term, I asked him if I could be part of his agenda every month so I could give those reports to the people and to the council. And when he left, I was only invited down here twice. And it wasn't for good reason. It wasn't to inform anybody or anything like that. It was just programmatic stuff that I got to come down here for. But during my term as the chief administrator, the one thing that I really tried to do and wanted to do was win back some of that respect from the communities. And what I did there is I started going to community meetings, and I think I went to almost every community and attended their community meetings. And then what I did is I brought my supervisors to the meeting so that they could hear the complaints, that it wasn't just coming from me, but they actually heard it from the people. It was really frustrating to watch council meetings because I sat for so long, and the things that I was seeing were disappointing. It wasn't the things that they were doing here, but it was how they were treating each other and how they were treating the public, and the disconnection from this government to communities kind of disappeared. One thing I prided myself on when I sat on council was protection of employees. And I seen very, very little of that. I'm not saying that everybody is that way that sits on the council, but it happened quite a bit, and it was allowed to happen. And I didn't care for that very much, because tribal council is here to legislate. The chairman is here to lead and care for our people. What makes this tribe turn are the employees of this tribe. And nobody should ever forget that. They're the ones that make the tribe turn. It's not this body and it's not that administration. It's the employees out there. And when you treat people bad, it's going to fall back on you. And I say that for advice for some of these young ones that are running. It's not just employees, but a lot of the public got treated bad as well. And being a chief administrator, I got my butt chewed for 5 years. And I just let people vent. And I gave them direction, because people are just as frustrated as I was as the chief administrator. And I had no idea what was going on in the communities until I got up there. And I sat here for a long time, and that's really sad, because I disconnected myself from programs. I disconnected myself from what's going on in the communities and how. And I was kind of ashamed. And that's one of the reasons why I ran, filed for chairman. It's because of the way employees are getting treated and our public. And luckily, the community meetings that I went to, the tribal council people were in attendance when I went. I don't think I went to one community meeting where the tribal council people weren't present. But the one thing that I want to do that I've never seen a chairman do, that's attend community meetings, because that respect has to be given back to the people. That openness and that connection between tribal government and our communities has to be open somehow. And I know that everybody would rather see a chairman of a tribe attend a community meeting rather than anybody else. Transparency. I was asked the other day what transparency means to me. Transparency to me means going out into those communities and telling them the decisions that were made here, the decisions that I made, whether they're good or bad. Every decision that's made here, somebody is going to be mad. But don't take it personal. That's something that I learned a long time ago, that you can't take this stuff home and you can't take it personal, because it's something that you have to do. You're going to have to make some really, really tough decisions. Everybody talks about the national level. We have enough problems here within our own tribe that needs work. And I'm willing to do that. Granted, I'm not a traveler. I like Oak Creek. I don't care if I'm there every day. Granted, I do know that I will have to travel from time to time. I think Rodney did a really good job bringing funds into our tribe when he was the chairman. He's somebody that I can lean on. when it's time for me to do that. But getting that, winning back that respect in the communities is really, really a big issue for me. I think that tribal government lost so much respect from not just young individuals, but from our elders. And you can say everybody uses elders to campaign on, but those are the people that I look up to, and those are the people that I ask questions to. And when you lose that respect, you just as well not be a leader. You might as well not even sit here because nobody's going to listen to you. And that's the hardest thing that I will have to do if I'm elected chairman of this tribe, is winning back that respect. Because it's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take work, and it's going to take me going out to each and every community. One of my pet peeves is council absenteeism and committee absenteeism. Those are really, really big issues for me. We have social media up there that runs all day. And our attendance for each and everybody here and committees should be listed up there so they can be addressed in a manner during council meetings where it should be. If somebody needs to be replaced, they need to be replaced. That's just the way it is, but this is a big business and it needs to be treated that way. Council representatives and administrators that sit up there make really good money to only attend a few meetings a month. And there's no reason why people should miss over and over and over. And then when it comes to a council vote for excuse, to be excused, everybody just raise their hand and don't even ask a question. But when you place it out there for the people, I will address it that way through communities. The unity, respect, and attendance, I just went over that. I would be willing to do that on a monthly report to the people. This gentleman here spoke of marijuana. It's been 5 years. I remember nobody in this council room wanted to go and check out Flandreau. They were too scared of the issue, so Rodney asked me to go. Would I be willing to go as a chief administrator? So I went over there and brought back information, and it's been 5 years and we still haven't gotten off the ground. It's still not open. Why? I mean, I have questions coming in here just as much as you guys have questions for me. Why isn't it recreational? We have a meth problem here, and it's going to help curb that problem, and we have to look at every avenue that's going to help us with that drug. It's a drug that kills people. It's taking our people. It's taking our families. I have people in my family that that are addicted. The one thing that I really want to push, and it's probably been tried way back in the 70s, if I remember correct, but that's the utilization of our lands. We're land rich, and there's no reason why our tribe isn't self-sufficient on our own lands. We have 1 million acres of land, but we don't use it. We're happy with subleasing it to whoever. We sit back, our people suffer, and the non-members become millionaires off of our land and still treat us like crap. It's time for us to step up and start taking those lands back. And I'm not saying tribal ranches or people who own tribal land or lease tribal land. I'm talking about the non-members who utilize our land. We can take right back. We are our own government. We can develop our own laws and regulations, and that's something that I'm going to push. We have 28 unused pivots that are being utilized by non-members that are ready for farming that we can get off the ground running. There's so much spin-offs from utilizing our land a pension for our employees. It's 2024. Why have our employees not received any type of pension? We started that process in law enforcement. And it was hard for anybody to work with a tribe. But we stayed at it and stayed at it and stayed at it. It came to a full circle, and it was a Voya, a business that the tribe was already utilizing. They work with other tribes for a pension. I was just shooting for law enforcement and corrections and the frontline services that the tribe provides, but there's no reason why all of our tribal employees ain't able to get a pension. And just to explain what a pension is it's a retirement plan where if you're ready to retire, you're going to be paid for the rest of your life at a percentage. And it's a really simple thing to do. Man, I haven't seen one of those in about 6 years, but I'll close it down real quick.
I'm sorry about this, Steve, but, so we have a whole series of questions, that so good does get about 5 minutes, so, well, I'm not going to enforce anything, so you have all these questions.
So I'll close it out.
Sure.
I'm a critical thinker, and I will not make my decisions based off emotions. All my decisions will be well-informed decisions. And the main reason why I filed for chairman is I'm tired of our tribe taking the back seat. We just haven't had a voice. We haven't had a direction. And I'll do that without fear. Thank you.
That's so, that, I believe about a half hour, I have a family emergency here. But Linda's here, so it's going to kind of make her a timekeeper, but we're not going to pick it that much to the time. I don't think we will, because there's not a whole bunch. We've had past forums, especially in the primary, we've got about 15 people around there. We don't have that much now. But could one of you guys please say what the date of the general election is? We know it's just right around the corner, and who the candidates are for the next question. If someone could do that, please. You have the big sheet in front of you.
Yeah, okay, Ronnie. These ladies are from the Tokala Inagio group. And why don't you girls go ahead and introduce yourself
Yes.
and read the list of candidates. Then right after they get done introducing themselves, we're going to go to the first question on YouTube because it's something that's everybody wants to know on this whole reservation. So thank you for asking that question, Michelle. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jaden Rose Whiting. I'm currently the project coordinator for Tokala Inagio Youth Leadership Mentoring Program, and I will let the rest of my staff introduce themselves.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brooke Espinoza. I am a youth outreach specialist at Tokala Inagio, and I am also a member of the Sioux Youth Council.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gracie McCloskey. I'm also a youth outreach specialist at Tokala Inagio, and I'm also a member of the Sioux Youth Council.
Okay, Brooke, did you want to read the candidate list?
Yeah. Okay, so for tribal president, we have Kathleen Woodenknife and Steve Denoyer Jr. And tribal vice president is Elizabeth Lisa Whitepipe and Russell Eaglebear. And Antelope Tribal Council is Dolores Totes-Wan and Jordan Ron. And Bull Creek Tribal Council is Todd Bearshield and Everly Lunderman. And Corn Creek Tribal Council is Stanley Woodenknife and Arlene Old Lodge Black Bear. Dog Tribal Council is Royal Yellowhawk and Clifford Chums Lafferty. And Horse Creek Tribal Council is Robert Rattling Leaf and Charlie Fallis. Ring Thunder Tribal Council, Alvin Berryhill Sr. and Rose Two Strike Stenstrom. Rosebud Tribal Council is Sherry Wright Plank and Rodney Bordo Jr. St. Francis Tribal Council is Michael Bolts and Sharon Swift. Swift Bear Tribal Council is William Willie Kendall and Foster Denoyer Hogan. And Upper Cut Meat Tribal Council is Marion Little Thunder and Dwight Spotted Tail. General election is August 22nd, 2024, and the polls will open at 8 a.m. and close at 7 p.m.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we have the YouTube chat line open. And before we go into these printed questions, and Tokala has some questions also, but I'm going to ask the question that was posed right at the beginning of the evening. And the question is, it's for each one of you to answer, and you don't have to go into really in-depth. You can take, briefly if you want to. But it's, what are your thoughts on the Tribe 638 or IHS hospital? Are you for it or against it? And please explain. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Sherry, I didn't see you.
Yes, sure, yeah.
Okay, well, sorry. You can think about that for a minute and while Sherry introduces herself and tells a little bit about herself.
Oh, yeah, the mic, you guys kind of share the mic if you need to, please. And if you have the green field, you have to have the green field in red, you're not on, green means they can hear you.
Midakwe epi mi chante etanye na pe chuzape na wopila ichi chape. We are washte we imachiapi na ha washichu iapi sherry right plank imachiapi. Greetings, relatives. My name is Sherry Wright Plank. I'm from the Rosebud community. I am running for the Rosebud Community Council representative seat. I'm up for re-election this year. I'm the daughter of the late Leonard Shadow Wright and Sylvia Daisy, everyone knows her by Daisy, Blackwolf Wright. My grandparents are Andrew Blackwolf and Pauline Blackwolf. Her maiden name is Fourhorns. My grandparents on my father's side are Clayton Wright Sr. and Joyce Wright. I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak and talk about a little bit about some of the things that we believe in and would like to see happen with the tribe and some of the concerns that we have as well as goals. For the past 3 years, tribal council, a lot of people feel like you can get in and make this huge change, but it takes a majority of the 20 members that sit around these tables to agree with you and make those changes. And it also, you also have to have the support of your community and the people as well. So one of the things that I have learned, one of the biggest lessons that I have learned sitting in this seat is that throughout the duration of the tribe's history, there's still a lot of things, small protocols, procedures, and policies that aren't yet created or implemented and still need to be created. When I first got on council, I really wanted to see some big changes and I wanted to see them immediately. However, that's very difficult to do. It takes time. Government is slow, not just tribal government, but federal government as well. And educating people on initiatives and issues is very difficult to do with the way that our 20 communities are set up. A lot of people don't have internet access, phones, the radio is not always working. So it's really hard to do a lot of outreach and at community meetings as well. A lot of times only 20 or 15 people show up, enough for quorum. So it's hard to get a lot of outreach out there. But I do think that, some of the work that I have done while I've been on tribal council is I had to back up about 20 steps and really go and start from scratch on some things. One of the things I'm working on now with my committee on the governmental affairs is we're creating policies and procedures for hearings, public hearings. The Law and Order Code states that when you want to change a law, which is what legislators are supposed to do, is focus on laws. Some of the laws we're wanting to work on are like the bootlegging law. We want to work on, we changed the cannabis, we made medical marijuana legal for our cancer patients and other people who may need to use the medicine. And there are several other laws that we're working on changing. However, the structure for a public hearing isn't written down anywhere. And that's just one example. There's several other issues within our government system that need to be worked on. I have the experience and expertise in drafting policy and drafting standard operating procedures. I ran a business for the tribe for several years. It was a failing business. It wasn't doing very well. When I left that business, it was doing good. It was profiting and bringing money to our economic development corporation. So I guess economic development is one of the biggest issues that I believe in. One of my biggest platform topics is economic development. And I choose economic development because it encompasses everything. It encompasses our housing. It encompasses investing in our future, which is our youth. When we invest in our future, I don't mean just monetary investments, which those are important too. It would be amazing if we could pay for school for all of our young people. However, the tribe's funds are very limited. And that's something that with a big economic boom, and if we could find something that could really generate revenue for the tribe, that's something in the future that I would like to see. That would be an investment in our future. Right now, we need so many trades, so many professions that we're lacking in. We don't have enough lawyers, we don't have enough prosecutors, we don't have enough public defenders, we don't have enough police officers, there's so much need in all of our tribal programs, and the key there is funding. Trying to get funding, and the only way that I could see us getting more funding is by generating revenue. Throughout the past 3 years, I went to Washington, D.C. about 4 times for education, for housing initiatives, for other initiatives, basic funding. I've lobbied for funding for Buffalo Restoration. I lobbied for funding for our police department. So those are the 4 things that I went to Washington, D.C. and lobbied for. I'm really hoping to see that we can reap some benefits from that lobbying. Unfortunately, we won't know now because we're still waiting for the federal budgets to come forth. But I know those processes, I've learned them, and I think that I would do good if I had another 3 years to represent the people and continue to do the work that I have been doing for the people for the past 3 years. I'll stop there because I know we have a lot of questions and I don't want to take up too much time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. And to stay on track, I guess we'll just go right into that question I just posed from the viewer about and I'll start with you, Sherry. What are your feelings? Are you for or against contracting or compacting the IHS hospital? And why?
Do you want our questions to be do you want us to elaborate a little?
A little, sure.
Okay. So,
5 minutes.
okay. I'll keep it less than 5 minutes. So as far as the compacting goes, what I will say is that we put that out for a vote, and whatever the people decide is the way that I'm going to go. Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, that's a really good question that gets asked wherever I go. And I wanted to apologize to the communities before I get started on this, and I wanted to do it earlier before Ron cut me off. But I wanted to apologize that I didn't get out to the communities and really campaign the way that I wanted to. I've had 4 deaths in my family since this started, and it was really hard for me to get away and get out there. So I was trying to talk fast and get as much out there as I can, but I do have a lot more to offer. Now, getting to this elephant in the room, IHS compacting, that's a really tough question to answer. As a tribal member, it scares me, and I think it scares a lot of people, and I can't answer it. I mean, right now I would have to say no, and it's just because I don't have the information of all it entails. I would like to see what IHS operates on a year, including flyouts, their yearly budget. I want to see what's proposed in this compact, and can we sustain that budget throughout. IHS kind of has open-ended amount of funding when it comes to flyouts. Are we gonna have that? I want to see the compacting itself and go through it before I would say yes. And do an assessment of it and take that out to the communities and explain it to them, because this vote, it was close. But how many people actually understand it? What does it entail? What's the oversight? How is the tribe involved in that? Those are all questions that people have, and I can't answer those because I've never gotten that information. So until I get that information, I'm just kind of up in the air, but it scares me, and right now I would have to say no until I can go over all of that.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Russell?
That is a good question, and I've been involved from last administration when the talk of contracting or compacting the hospital came into light. But one of the things, we hired a firm to kind of help us, give us some guidance, and right from the get-go, they were basically having meetings, inviting our council, and the meeting was in Shakopee, which I wanted to go there because I could gamble there, really. But, I told them right here when they were standing here, I said, you should do it here so that, explain the whole process so that our people can come in and listen. Well, that didn't happen. They all went to Shakopee and they never did come back to this body as a whole. And man, it scares me. When Indian Health Service is only funded at 40-some% every year, how can we compact them? And, we're going to get all these ideas. Oh yeah, well, you can contract this or you can contract this, and you could get grants to run the hospital. And to me, it's scary. I am opposed to it. I'm one of the guys that don't want to compact right now or a contract because, it's not gonna improve. The money's gonna be there at 40-some%, and that's all we have to operate on. And so it is scary. And, I'm going to use one of our programs for an example. We contracted ambulance service, and every year we have to supplement that over $1 million a pop. To this day. I mean, we're still doing that. So to me, and Indian Health Service likes that. They don't have to shell out because it's our responsibility by contracting. And so our tribe has to supplement that every year. They take from different programs and finally come up with the money to operate. Ambulance service is a crucial operation of this tribe. I mean, I saw one flying out, red lights on going towards Farm Lee, or maybe it's going to North, I don't know, but, we do need that service. But when Indian Health Service not gonna increase any of the funding to ambulance service, who gets stuck with the bill? We as the tribe, because we contracted. Now, when you look at on a bigger scale of the hospital, it scares you. And when we won that lawsuit against the Indian Health Service, I said that here on the council floor. You can go back and check the record. I said, we need to hire some lawyers and take Indian Health Service to task on that funding. Let the legals take care of it. We need to be, even if they can allow 80-90% of funding back to us, then it's doable, I think. But right now, it's scary. We're gonna fail right off the bat. And when we're dealing with the health of our people, to me, that's crucial. I depend on the House bill. I'm sure every one of you do too. We want to be seen, we want to be taken care of, we want to get appropriate medicines so that we can live. And to me, life is crucial. So right now, you know, with this, all these iffy things coming at us, it does scare me. And treaty obligation, even though that's the reason why we won that case on that, it's because of the treaty language. And so I think we can take it a step further and do it legally, or even through Congress. You know, I mean, once you start a lawsuit, man, people are going to take notice. And we're really fortunate that we won that case. And we can take it a step further. Instead of trying to contract and compact and getting wined and dying here and there and nothing being brought forth here. Something concrete, something in writing saying, if you contract this, we'll give you 100% funding. That's what I would like to see. But everything is mouth, you know, words of contractors that we hire, and they tell you all these good things so that we can pay them good money. So I am totally against it right now. You know, Indian Health Service can make improvements. I mean, I get seen, I go in the hospital, they take care of me, and I'm hoping that they do to all our tribal members. The way they take care of me, I'd like to see them take care of all our tribal members right now. That's their treaty obligation, and we can stand on that. Don't worry about Medicaid or Medicare. It is a treaty obligation. So I want our people to utilize that hospital anytime you need it. Don't worry about all these payments and flyouts, and it is their responsibility. So with that, thank you for that question. I can go on and on, but I know we're time limited.
Okay, Foster, your thoughts on this?
I have to agree with the fellow candidates. It's a loaded question, so thanks for asking. I don't have a straight answer for this question. I just have a lot of thoughts, and you know, everything that gets brought up, and even on the questions provided, there's always a root cause that needs to be addressed. And for IHS and health, there's quite a few. So just jotting down some notes. IHS, for the fiscal year 21, there was a shortfall of $3 billion nationally. And we as a tribe, along with other tribes, we need to work together to tell IHS, tell BIA what fundings we need so that it's fully covered, so there are no shortfalls. Because that's where we get the shortcomings of our services. Some more of the preventative actions that we can do is we need to increase the pipeline for medical field. We need our own people in those positions, not the Washichu doctors telling us what we need, misdiagnosing us and giving us medicine that takes another medicine for the side effects. For my background in indigenous food sovereignty and medicine, everything around us, all the Wato'ayate, the plant nation, the Sioux nation, they have a medicinal use. We need to preserve them. They're our relatives. They come first. They were here before IHS. We need to tap into them, give them their offering, and ask for them to take care of us so we can take care of them in return. That's how we be preventative. Majority, if not most, or all of the chronic illnesses are diet related. That's my stance on our food system. There's a lot of talk about a very prominent grocer in our area. Not to name names, but we know how bad it is. If we take control of our food system, we can be preventative and take back our health. If we do that, we will be a healthier people. We won't have to rely on IHS so much for the severities. We can take care of ourselves for the illnesses, the colds, coronavirus, everything around us, we can treat ourselves with our prayer, spirituality, and the foods around us. Now, again, not a clear answer, but there are other sources of funding for us and our SES, our socioeconomic status. The Patient Protection and Affordable Cares Act serves lower economy like ourselves. There are other sources of funding that we can use to fund the care that we deserve. So to answer that question, there's a lot in there that we need to address. But for right now, the people have spoken, and as candidates and as seated officials, we need to listen to the people. Kalamea.
Thank you, Foster. Rose?
I'd have to go with how the people voted. Even though, you know, we need a lot of change, we need a lot of improvements with IHS. But that's my answer.
Okay, Rodney.
I'm with the people as well with voting no, but I'm also with Russell that our people need to be more informed with what's actually going on. Like even with this last election, most of the ballots weren't even out right early in the morning, so most of the people didn't even know to vote or not. And a lot of that too is that goes back to treaty rights as well. Over time, IHS takes more and more just to get seen, and for especially for our elders. There's so many of our elders who go in there and they just get turned around and misdiagnosed until they have time to go somewhere else and realize there's a really big underlying problem that's going to affect their health in the long run. And a lot of this just comes from miscommunication from our end and an IHS end. We need to get lawyers and fight for our treaty rights in the future, and also go to DC a lot more and lobby for these treaty rights. We can't just sit around and take months on end to just get one meeting with IHS. We need to be there all the time and work for our people, fight for our people, because we're not here for the people to serve us. We're here to serve our people. And that's just how I stand on that.
Bro, can I just, I believe about 15 minutes before I do, I think one thing we mentioned, Abby, of these forum interviews that we do, you got interviewing with people, what makes you the best candidate. When you do that, it's important that, you know, introduce yourself again each time, you know, what your name is, what community, what office you're running from. It's good because, you know, like I said, I'm saying, because Royal, because everybody knows Royal, you know, but Royal is a good man. It's a good man, you know. He's got that Lakota sense of humor. I love that, you know. But I just want to throw that out before I get about 15 minutes.
Okay, Royal, it's your turn.
Okay, Wokula Chichapalo, Royal Yellow Hawk. But reflecting on all that, I want to say that at the time when this was introduced, I remember there was a part in there where they wanted to bring medicine men in to heal our people, because when you look at this video in the 70s, and I remember a lot of the elderly when Floyd Reynolds invented he didn't invent, but he started the ambulance service, and these old elderly, when I was around them, they would see the ambulance and they would say, somebody's gonna have a baby, because nobody was trained in their mind when you got sick that you're gonna go to the hospital, because we still had our traditional medicines, our traditional healing, and that we still practice. So today, now that we live in a different era, now we believe fully in that hospital. And I once, about a month back, I had a conversation with a doctor, and my daughter got tested. And before they gave the test results, I remember the doctor said, "Any questions of me?" So I said, when somebody comes to the hospital, there's always bad news. So I said, we're all trained to believe in you. I said, but I did some classes out of SGU, and I taught history, culture, tribal law, tribal treaties, tribal government. And so in those classes, we're privy to a video of Albert Whitehat Sr. and Joe Eagleock. So when they had that class, Albert explained, he said, you look at a doctor and you look at Joe Eagleock. So when somebody is going to do a traditional healing, we look at how much does it cost for a life flight, how much does it cost for the family to go to the hospital, spend the night, and all this, versus somebody getting traditional healing. Our medicines are there. But all that medicine, man, he can never name a price, or he can't, if somebody says, how much do I owe you for this healing? He can't say, oh, you owe this or you owe this. So when we look at, with Cholzani, we look at our own health, we got to look at how our people survived without having these doctors who get paid thousands of dollars and who have nice homes and get that medical doctor. And then we look at our medicine men who are really Oshika, but that's how they made it. There's stories from Joe of having that ceremony. Who gave it to us, why, and the medicines. Every family has a medicine. Every family on the res had a medicine. One time I gave an offering to an elderly, and she said, you're gonna have to give me a wohake, a gift, in order for this medicine to work. So that's what I did. I gave her a star quote. And then I drank the medicine and I got better. So all these are available. So when we talk about the IHS, that should be something that I seen back then, but it got voted away. So to me, the healing is there. I've seen people with real Uchokuji get healed. So that's what I'll say that much. And part of also we talk with Foster and Rodney Jr. because there's a cultural resource plan that was created years ago, and they identified all the plants, and they named them, what their uses were. And so SGU should have taught a class teaching all these kids. And then BIA had the funding to build a building. So to funnel these kids to this building to learn these plants, and so that our people can have this knowledge and have this teaching and not think about IHS is going to save our life or IHS has the knowledge. We have our own, our people have done this for years and years. I'll say that much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. Okay, now we're gonna go right into the youth questions. So go ahead, ladies, and they passed out their questions to you, but go ahead and ask your questions.
And hello, everybody. Once again, my name is Brooke Espinoza. I am a member of the Sichanga Youth Council. So some of our questions just come from what we do, not only as our program, but as a youth council. So one of our main focuses has been boarding school research. In 2021, we did repatriate 9 relatives from Carlisle. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but we do have lots of other relatives that are still waiting to be repatriated. Rapid City, in Carlisle, at Haskell University. We have relatives all over that still need to be repatriated. So that's one of our main focuses as a council. So going into our first question, it's about Senate Bill 1723. And so what the bill is it establishes a Truth and Healing Commission. And this commission focuses on protecting the repatriation, helping with repatriation. It also helps bring justice to our boarding school survivors and their descendants, but also focuses on the impacts and ongoing effects of the boarding school, intergenerational trauma, the trauma of DDT, the effects it had on our people. So the first question is, are you aware of the bill? If yes, what is your opinion on the bill? And if no, then how do you plan to educate yourself and those in your communities on the bill? And we just want to tie in question 2 as well, which is how do you plan on supporting boarding school survivors and their descendants?
Or Royal or Sherry?
We can start with Sherry.
None of you guys don't be stealing my answers. Ha. Just kidding. Um, so thank you for these questions. These are good. Some of these questions actually, you do so much work throughout the 3 years that you're here on council that you forget about a lot of the things and conversations that you've had. I've got to speak with Senator Warren about this prior to her. We approached her and asked her to sponsor this bill. So we got a chance to speak with her on that. So I'm really glad that it's going to be coming forth, that's forthcoming. The boarding school survivors, supporting them and their descendants, I guess that would really mean that we need to bring you guys in and get a report. And you guys have been doing a lot of outreach in the communities. You guys have been having monthly meetings, or is it biweekly meetings that you guys have been doing? Okay. Monthly meetings, yeah. And just get some feedback from you all and see what direction we need to go to help support the repatriation of our other relatives. Last I knew, it was kind of being kept under wraps because we didn't want anybody to throw a wrench in it on the work that was forthcoming. So I haven't really talked very much about it, but I do feel like, you know, the boarding school descendants, the state of our reservation all comes down to this boarding school trauma. It's why our people are hurting. It's why our people aren't able to come out of oppression. It's going to be a long path to do that. And I feel like there's a lot of mental health services that need to be offered, a lot of other types of support to help our people heal. And that's what this whole point of this committee is, and this bill is to try and bring forth healing. So I guess just supporting it and listening to, first we need to hear what feedback you have gotten from the descendants, and then from there, I feel like we can make a plan how we can support them.
I'll still share your answers, but no, I'm not familiar with, I'm not familiar with the bill. And how do I plan to educate myself? Of course, research and read and ask questions. She talked to you guys, are well versed in it. That would be a start. How do you plan on supporting boarding school survivors and their descendants? Boy, that's a really tough question. Because it goes so far back and it affects, when things like that happen and somebody's affected in that way, it causes ripples in families and communities. And if survivors or descendants are willing, I would ask maybe somebody who specializes in that to come in and help them in whatever manner they need help. Of course, we have sweats and ceremonies that help as well, but that is really a deep rooted question to ask us as candidates. But that's where I would start, because you may open some things that we're not capable of dealing with here. And it would take somebody who really specializes in a situation like this. And I don't think we have that expertise here. So it would take somebody coming from the outside or spiritually, whichever route they choose. That's how I would handle that. Thank you.
One of the things, when we started the process of repatriating our kids from Carlisle. We had the opportunity to meet with Secretary of Interior right from the get-go. And, you know, all of a sudden, boarding school, you know, the thing happened in Canada and it just opened the door. But one of the things in the beginning, when we started working on trying to get information on all the kids at Carlisle, we ran into some roadblocks. And one of the things I learned was that the United States government, they had their hands in creating boarding school, the whole process and the whole system. But yet, when we were trying to get our kids back, and I use this analogy on a public, I don't know if some of you remember that, but I said, here we are trying to do something that our ancestors were trying to do 140 some years ago, and now we're trying to fulfill that. Yet the Bureau of Indian Affairs was standing, I use this analogy, they were standing behind a tree looking at us to see what we're going to do. And then they find all these kids in Canada and it just blew the whole thing wide open back then. But I'm glad that they took some time to pass this bill. It also includes funding. And hopefully it really comes out to some of the tribes. You know, we worked hard when the kids wanted to repatriate the kids in Carlisle. I mean, we had no resources, we had no money. We had to go hire outside help, a researcher, to do all the research. And we, you know, we spent money, we begged and borrowed money just to pay this researcher to get to the point where we were at. Then we had to contact all the descendants. And even then, it was kind of iffy because, you know, later on I find out that, oh yeah, well, this guy, this chief was, this was his second, third, fourth wife that had this child, you know, I mean, it got into this family situation. And, you know, all our intent was to bring these kids back. We want your permission. And we finally got them. And that's how we started that process of bringing those kids back. If the parents don't want them, or the descendants, relatives didn't want them back, then there's nothing we can do. It's that process. And, you know, now there are kids, for example, we left 3 kids in Carlisle because their grave is unknown and the government don't want to go there right now. And it becomes, with Carlisle, it was the Army, it's a active Army post. And so we had to deal with that. And you know, the United States government gives the United States Army, I mean, they can do anything they want. And, you know, it took, luckily we had Senator Rounds was on the Armed Services Committee, and so we utilized his office, and that's how we got things moving. So this whole Senate bill, you know, it is good, but I'm thinking that, you know, the $200 million that, or whatever the dollar amount was, I can't remember exactly, but I hope they don't be utilized by the Bureau themselves and nothing coming out to us to really work on the issue. You know, Carlisle's still an issue. You know, we got 3 unknowns. And if you remember when we had that meeting with the United States Army and United States government at the casino, one of our he's in the spirit world now, but he said, there's ways for us to identify our people. The United States government does not recognize that. But now, last year, we sent a letter back to them. You know, we can utilize the DNA process, you know, in identifying those kids, those three. There's another fourth one. The last name is Young. And so when we were in DC, I don't know if Rodney remembers that, we were in Carlisle. And we had the chairman of the Oglala tribe there. And he was identified as a Sioux, Lakota. And so they said, well, we're going to take this back because we have that name in our rolls at Pine Ridge. And I said, well, we're going to check ours too because we have we have Youngs on our reservation too. So that's kind of still ongoing right now. And I think you guys are probably involved in that. But, you know, there's a lot that needs to get done. And funding wise, you know, we had to beg and borrow money, you know, and eventually we paid it back. But, you know, the government, we spent probably about $200,000 all those years, but they gave us $150,000 back for all the work that we put into, which goes to you guys to continue your research. So, you know, we're trying to put that money to good use, but to me, it's a small amount. But I agree with this bill. I don't know every word, just like I don't understand. You know, I read the treaties. I can't remember every article. I don't know if my nephew over there remembers that, but I always ask him what Article 11 means. He hasn't told me yet. But anyway, it is good. So I think we need to, our leaders here need to really get involved in that and start asking for more funding. We only have a window of opportunity, I think. You know, they're having a national election this year. It can go either way right now. And I think we may lose an opportunity or we may gain an opportunity, but we need to continue our research. You know, we just last fall, we went to visit the kids that are buried in Minnesota. And, you know, we have some tribal members that went from here to that girls' school. It was a government paid place. So government really had their hands in everything in our daily lives. So I'd rather have them foot the bill and pay for some of the things that they've done. And if they need to send money to us so we can take care of our people who mentally, boarding school, you know, if they have issues, maybe we need to seek professional help. I don't know. But we're doing our best in trying to recover our relatives. And that's one of the things, that's a Lakota thing, you know, when one goes into, and a good example of that was Crazy Horse. You know, when his brother got killed, he went looking for him, found him, brought his body back, buried him. And so it's a Lakota thing, you know, it's something that we should always keep in mind. Today, some people don't care. They don't care, you know, but there are people who do care, and they're trying to make a difference. So we try to follow. So, you know, we need to tap into this Senate bill as much as we can. I don't know every line item, the resolution, but you know, it is needed. And I really, if any of you, you know, want to draft a resolution and looking for more funding from Department of Interior, we need to do that right now. I would think. Thank you.
Try to keep the 3 minutes because we have the other questions, you know, so I was gonna have to leave, but this question, I want to talk a little bit about this. myself, being a boarding school so-called survivor, but we call ourselves veterans. But, so we'll just continue on that, remember, you guys introduce yourself and what community you're from. Reintroduce everything. Adopt with the kids.
Denoyer Hogan, running for Swift Bear Council Rep. From my understanding for the bill 1723, I think there's three main components to it. Protecting unmarked graves, supporting repatriation, and the discontinuation of removal. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's what it is. And I also understand that this goes hand in hand with NAGPRA, the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. So this goes deeper than just those that were left at, forgot to start my timer. This goes deeper than those that were just left at the institutions. This also goes into what we call artifacts, but also like their clothing, what materials they took with them, what were taken from them. Those have significance as well. We can't forget those because those belong to them that we want to repatriate. And I fully support it and I applaud your efforts, Takale and Agio. Diana Chanupi, you did well. And for the supporting boarding school survivors and descendants, I would agree that a very heavy question. And I think for the most part, most of us, if not all of us, are descendants in one way. And it has impacted us in one way or another, whether we know the culture, grew up learning it, or don't know it at all, or practice Catholicism. It's impacted us in one way, shape, or form. And I think that's more of a social construct to address. I think what it comes back to is being a good relative because it's not any of our faults. We can't shame each other out for knowing little to no culture for boarding school effects. And what it takes, we do have ceremony, we do have inipi, and for those that don't partake in either of those, there is trauma-informed therapy that I think it's the Zuni or the Pueblo, they're really good at that. So I think it's worth reaching out to other tribal nations to see what they're doing because we're all in the same boat, whether it be the mission system, boarding schools, the Pueblo system, we're all facing the same oppression. And it's something that we can all address together as, intertribal. We need to establish those intertribal relations once again. There's so much more that could go into supporting, just increasing opportunity to relearn. And for those that, this goes even to those that are adopted out. How do we welcome them back home with open arms, without judgment, without shame, and let them know that, they are Lakota, they are Sichangu, and this is home to them. Not just reservation, but all treaty territory is home to them, and we need to address that. Ichegla, Kalame.
I know Stenstrom, I'm from Ring Thunder, and I know about the bill and stuff, and I support, I support some of this, over the years, I've done a lot of research. I started doing research when I was taking classes at RST, and I still continually do it. I find things on, in some of the most odd places. But I started going to some of the meetings that they had with the youth group, and I learned a lot from them too. So I support everything that they're doing. They're doing good. They're trying to deal with a lot of this, and they're trying to help others deal with it. So that's. I'm kind of glad they're doing that, and somebody's doing that because it helps those that it affects, helps them see things a little differently, and as far as like spirituality, there are ways to identify them. There really is, but I don't know how much. I don't know how spirituality, could be, taken as legal or, real. So that's the thing that we need, run up against. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
My name's Rodney Bordo, and I'm running for Rosebud Council rep. And all these boarding schools goes way back to old days. This isn't just an attack on our children; it's an attack on our way of life and our culture. People forget back then the government just had a say in everything we did. They took our children, and we didn't. Our elders, our ancestors, they didn't get the chance to raise those children in a native way. And also, like during that same time, like we had to hide sun dances and we had to hide so much of our way of life. And when these children came back with all the trauma, that pain reaches down into their children and their grandchildren, and it just keeps going down. And this was all an attack on the way of our life. And I strongly support this bill, and I'm thankful for Russell and the youth group to go in and bring these children back to us. And I think in the future we need to work a lot more as council and work with our youth group and be there during their meetings, And we also need to support them and like help fund them and also help reach out and get more funding for them. Because with awareness will come more eyes and more people, looking at this problem and the trauma that the United States government caused. Because we need to also work with other tribes as well, and we all need to just come together and just stay at this. We can't just bring it up one time during one meeting and not work with them. We need to continuously be at it. Same as what Royal said, and going to DC, sometimes we go there and these senators, they'll ignore us, but they can't ignore us forever, and we just need to continue to be at it, not get discouraged and just go a few times and say that's all we can do. We need to continue to work with your youth, and I strongly support this bill, and it's just defending our culture and defending our children for years to come. And that's all I got in that.
Royal Yellowhawk Hidao community. I want to say that I also support this bill because of stories that were told. I know there's a oldest grave in Parmalee, Holy Innocent Cemetery. One of the elders, Lorenzo Igoro, told me of a story of, and when I was driving my daughter to UCLA during her grad school years, Lorenzo told a story of this man who was stolen and grew up in California. And when we was driving out there and going through the Carlisle Divide and all these mountains, I said, man, that man really wanted to go home. He was wounded, but it took him so long, wounded, and he made his way all the way to Holy Innocent Cemetery, Parmalee. And I can't remember the name of this man, but people want to come home. And Goop Chippy. But one thing I had a conversation, Grandpa Hedog, Robert Hedog, the son of Chief Hedog, he told before he died that when the chief was buried, he only wanted to be marked for 40 years because he said that his body would become dirt. And I was surprised at how all this embalming and all the things that keep the body. And one of the things that an elder, Richard Movescamp, told me was that the flooding in Missouri, where all these caskets came up and they had to repatriate it and rebury them. He talked about how they were scratching. They saw scratch marks because wool kicked up meant that your family would sit with you 4 days, and there was a chance you would come back alive. And So to know that these family members were buried alive, it hurt our relatives. So that's why they wanted to be embalmed. And that's why our people, our whole means of that's a seventh stage of our people is death and making your journey to Wanagiata. There's a whole cultural teaching in that seventh stage of your life. And like Rodney Jr. was saying, being outlawed and medicine men being outlawed, drum groups being outlawed, and even just having no kind of spiritual guidance within those that seventh stage of your life of crossing over and summoning the spirit rider so he can take you to the door and then you could start your journey. There's all these things that go into how our people practiced and how we wanted to live as long as we can, how we took care of ourselves, how we disciplined our people and our families and our communities. And there's a lot that goes into this, they say, Steve was saying, intergenerational trauma and all those things that affected our people, the boarding schools. I remember when this came about, Bob Long, rest in peace, he said that his dad was in Carlisle and his dad went to Carlisle. And so there's a lot of history within our tribe about this boarding school and the stories and things that I've heard, I've seen, and my knowledge of how it went about Deb Holland. I know she had the interviews at the SGU, and there was these things that they were trying to bring about, and they talked about tribes and addressing a lot of the policies that affected tribes and affected the language loss. So there's a whole array of things that goes into not just the Senate bill, unless that's part of it, all the loss and how the government can supplement and help tribes bring back their culture and language. I'll say that much.
Okay, I'm going to talk about a break here, but if you guys want one or not, but before I do, I just want to just talk about this a little bit because it hits really close to home to me, the boarding school issue. I went to St. Marty's Indian Mission, St. Paul's Indian Mission, Marty, South Dakota, from 61 to about 71, 62 to about 71. It's really rough times, me and my brothers and two of us, we were called lifers, which means we were there year round, except for the summer. You had to leave. Otherwise, who knows, we could have been there during the summer. So I think when young ladies ask this question, they're talking about, I remember most of the people I went to school at Marty with, they're gone. I'm one of the last of the Mohicans, that I went to school with. Others, when they first started talking about this boarding school issue, there were a lot of people in Canada that the residential schools were getting all the attention. And there were good meaning people, younger people, talking about the boarding school, how rough they was, trying to bring money into like that. But we were talking about some of the people who I went to boarding school with, they said that you have all these people talking about us, younger people, but what about us? They're talking like we're all dead. That actually suffered the abuses of boarding school. We were all dead. We're still alive. Hear us, listen to us. So Deb Howland started the road reconciliation. So they come out with 2 reports, extensive reports. I haven't read them. I need to. I would recommend to you Native News Online. That's where I get my best news source. I do 2-3 hours of research a day. Some of you probably get my emails, I sent to you, and so they have, so I have these archives of reports. I need to read them. And when they came here to Rosebud, some people, they just want to be heard. They just want to be heard. Most people I went to boarding school with that when they were still alive, when they were doing this, that they said they're going to try to get you psychological, help or something. And if you like that, they said no, they don't want that. I don't want that. I'm not like that. I don't believe in the. Maybe it was Native American psychologists, I might talk to them or like that. But so somebody had these young ladies that having some meetings. Rose was there. There was a small group of us, so it helps to talk about it. But again, a lot of these boarding school survivors, that's what the emphasis should be on them. They're not going to go to psychological healing. Some will. I know most of the ones I know, the block-out ones, they're not going to go for no psychological stuff. When I gave my testimony, a young person came and she gave me a card, want to talk about it. But most boarding school people are still like, they won't really talk about it. But they will talk in a setting that the Tokala Inazio have. I went to one and I'll go to the future. But don't forget that a lot of these people, we're still alive. We're still here. And so it makes you almost cry when you're telling these stories at those little gatherings we have. I just went to the one. But so Marty Indian School, I still have nightmares where, I'm still there and I can't escape. Yeah. Oh, 1 minute. Okay, 1 minute. That's funny. I like that you got me. Retribution. But anyway, I still have so for my last thing in boarding school, sometimes I have nightmares. At 68 years old, I have nightmares where I'm still at boarding school and I can't escape. I have vivid night dreams. Heck, sometimes I have nightmares that I'm still in low rent and I can't escape. But I'm just kidding. No. So do you guys want to take a break or should we continue through? Continue through?
This is a lot of questions. What's your format? Are we gonna have?
Okay, what 3 minutes? Okay, we'll continue.
No,
through.
we're not going to go through all the questions. That's just an idea. We're going to ask you if you want to pick out a question. But there's so many people asking about housing and homelessness. I want to hear everyone's opinion or thoughts on that, or plans. And as you know, our tribe has 2 100-home projects, 2 of them.
No, just one.
What? Well, the girl over there told me that it was 2. But anyway, well, there's one 100-home project, but how can our people who really need the houses access those? And I'm talking about our people on the fixed incomes and low income. But those are questions to think about, and the youth group is going to ask, were you going to ask another question? Okay. And then we'll go to housing and homelessness, so think about that real quick.
Grace,
Yeah.
we need to leave.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for coming, and I'm glad you showed up, and people know who you are.
Yeah, no.
And the election's on Thursday. Remind everyone when you're out in the communities.
I wish some of the newer ones would have come because when I voted, I didn't know who some of these people were, so I just haven't voted for people I'm familiar with.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know who some of these newer ones were. I'm glad it showed up there.
Russell expressed that very well. You want to know who people are, what they stand for?
Thank you, Rose.
Well, you know who I am.
Okay, so we'll just ask a couple more questions. Let's get down to number 4. How do you plan on creating a larger youth presence in community decision-making, tribal decision-making? It's one thing to do things for the youth, but I think it's a whole different thing to actually involve the youth in a lot of things that are going on in our tribe, especially when it affects their futures. So, I'm gonna start with Sherry.
Okay. So, one of the things that I plan on doing when it comes to making youth give them a bigger presence and a voice. So whenever we proposed the youth complex and it was passed and then defeated, it was rescinded. That that right there showed me that it was really difficult for us to find a place for our youth and to have there's no space for us to sit and talk to youth, except the JAG program at the school, which I like to go and sit and I've been to I'm on the board for the JAG program. So I'm fortunate enough to have had some opportunity to talk to youth through that avenue. However, through the Governmental Affairs Committee, I think that I have a draft youth council, and my idea for it is different than the youth council that you guys sit on, because you guys have more of like, or that you guys manage. You guys is more of like a group, and then you do all these activities in the community, and that's good and that's needed. I feel like that's kind of how our community chairmen are. But when it comes to really educating our youth and giving them a voice, I feel like if we establish a youth council that mimics our council, where each community gets to elect a representative, and that committee or that council gets to come together and have meetings and have an advisor, and throughout the summer months or a few council meetings out of the month, if it doesn't hinder with their school, they can come sit and work with the council representative from their community. That then will give them access to see how our system works here. A lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of power that the people have and the youth. They could show up this month to their community meetings and they could show up there and voice their opinions. I used to do that when I was a young person. But a lot of people don't show up to community meetings. But whenever it comes to giving people a space, I feel like there's a misconception that this body has to do that. But grassroots efforts that come from people, that are started by people, are usually more receptive for people to join. Because if the council creates something and then it's all about, well, the council's in charge of that, and it becomes misconstrued that the council governs it. But I guess it would be good to educate our youth and let them know that they could start youth groups on their own as well as join their community youth group. So there's a lot of avenues I feel that are untapped resources and spaces for our young people that just aren't being exercised, I guess. When it comes to 20 communities, each community has youth funding. With the casino revenue, each community gets monthly allocations. With those allocations, most communities have their general fund, and then they have a youth fund. So then through there, they create a youth group who does youth activities. So that's one resource. That we have you guys, we have our schools. And one other thing that I think is important, I know you said that not just have activities, but I always ask this question: why are there no Native American geniuses? Why are there no Native American NFL players, NBL players? Why aren't there anybody going pro? Why aren't people getting full ride scholarships in athletics or academics? It's not because our youth aren't capable or adequate. It's because they're untapped resources. There's not enough resources within our schools to really seek out those geniuses and those athletes. And because of that, that's why there's no presence in this nation for Native Americans. Well, once there'll be like a handful of natives that are popular out there for their athletic abilities. However, if we give them these opportunities through the youth council, through their communities, and they come through and take advantage or start their own, I feel like that could really empower our youth. And when I first started talking about investing in our future, that's how we invest in our future, is by investing in our youth. It's super important that we allow them to have access to all the resources out there and all the needs. So my generation was told, and you guys probably get sick and tired of hearing this, go to school, help your people. But nobody said how. So we just did. And I went to business school to try and help build our economy. And but I feel we need to have a solid plan. And right now, I could just name a bunch of professions that this tribe needs, that this tribe pays Washichus for, that this tribe pays companies to come from Rapid City, Sioux Falls, Denver. You know, we need engineers, we need doctors, we need dentists, we need lawyers, we need all of these professions. And if we create a structure that gives opportunity and exposure to our youth to see and have a chance to see what a specific field is about, then they can help mold our future. One of the big ideas that I first had when I got on council that I kind of got lost because it was just so hard to find the resources, because funding for the tribe is very limited. We have our federal funding, we have our grants funding, which some is federal, some is non, and we have our tribal revenue, which is about $2 million. So yeah, and then we have programs that we have to fund with a little over $3 million in access funding that's not restricted, right? That's hard to do. Everyone here tonight talked about funding, more funding. How do we get funding? We get it through economic development. Then we can invest in our future. And if we turned around and created a job program, I know we have SNETP and they do wonderful, but if we created a job program where our young people could be inserted into these jobs and not just sit here and answer the phones or go mow because we're too busy to deal with you. You know, if we had an actual structured placement for these young people with a work plan that taught them a skill, maybe a young person thinks that they want to have an office job and they get that office job and they realize they don't want it. What do? But if we create a program that allows them to job hop, and say, okay, I thought I liked this. No, I don't. I want to work outside. So then they go work with someone else. No, I want to work with Game Fish and Park. So they go there and they find their placement. We need a place where our kids can do that. So they're not turning 18 and then job hopping when they're 18 and then they look unhireable to people. So there's so much when it comes to youth. And I could probably talk to you about this for a half hour because I have so many ideas on ways to empower our youth. And it's not just one set thing. It comes through education. It comes through exposure to the workforce. It comes to creating good work ethic. It comes to fostering our culture and ingraining our culture in our schools and our language. There's so many different avenues that we need to do to protect and prepare our youth to save us and our future generations. And it's hard to put all in a nutshell, but that's all I got for tonight. Thank you.
Before we move forward, I do want to elaborate a little bit more. So, the point of Sichongo Youth Council is not to just host events. The point of us is to create a seat at a table that wasn't ever meant for us. So in the past, we have participated with other council reps, but over the years, our support has died out. We have reached out to council reps for support to show up for us, to show up to groups. So I just wanted to elaborate on that, is we would like to be more involved in the, not decision making, but having a voice. And that's the point of our council. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that we're not just doing events, doing, odd things. Yeah.
You're not just doing mentoring?
No, we do talk about, the legal stuff. We do reach out to legislative affairs. We do all that stuff. And we have reached out to council reps for, getting in here, talking, things like that. And we've only had one reach out to us. And that works with us continuously so far. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, but yeah, that's a little bit about our council, is getting out there, but we can only do so much as far as getting in here. We leave that door open, and when we're invited in, then we come in.
But see, the youth council that I was talking about, if it's formed the way that I was explaining earlier, I think that that would give you a space, and if it was recognized through an ordinance, because it couldn't be recognized in the Constitution, that would have to be a constitutional change. Then that would give you a permanent voice, as well as the elder we could have an elder council as well. So you should come to a governmental affairs committee meeting and present that and ask for space on the floor. We were talking about amending our agenda, so maybe we can do like a quarterly check-in, a monthly check-in. If you want to come to the monthly council meetings, you can, but if you want to do it like quarterly or bi-monthly, that might be better too. So there's spaces there. I think the lack of communication on how to get there is just not there. But if you need guidance on that, you can call me. I'll help you.
I wanted to raise my hand, but
You wanted to turn my mic off.
no, everything that she said, it does evolve here because we already have an ordinance for youth. Everything that she talked about is already in place. And the resolution that covers and approves that ordinance says in there that it's perpetual, but yet this body defunded it. So it's a matter of funding, and we all talk about economic development, talk about youth. I lived youth for the majority of my adult life, working with youth. And whether it's coaching or taking them on the weekends or whatever that may be, that's a lot of work. And I did it on a volunteer basis, but we had a program called Youth Affairs Program, and it was run by Mike One Star, which is actually an ordinance. And every community at that time did have a youth council, and I haven't looked at the council agenda for some time, but I'm pretty sure that they have a spot on the agenda to report to the council as well. So just putting that back in place, if governmental affairs wants to research that instead of recreating the wheel, maybe updating it a little bit, it's already in place. And addressing that through funding, like Cher talked about, is really, really tough. And it's hard to answer those questions sitting here because we don't have access to the amount of funds that the tribe has or is budgeted per year until we get seated. She may have access to that stuff, but we don't. But there was two things that I talked about that will produce funding for our tribe, and that's utilizing our land, and that's marijuana. Our little thing over there that didn't get opened up yet. But that's gonna produce a lot of money. Now, when you're selling that kind of thing, there has to be a balance. Whether it's for health, treatment programs, or youth. I say the way we save our people is through our youth. Give them all the attention that you can, educate them, all the things that Sherry just talked about. But there has to be that balance coming from that funding. It just can't, we have to learn to give back to our people. We make money here. We do make money here. But it doesn't go back to the people. It doesn't go back to the youth or the elders. It gets put into programmatic issues that service our people, but there's nothing really given back to the people through communities. One thing I can recommend to you guys is go to the Community Presidents Association and start there and get your support from your communities. The CPA holds a lot of weight. They know everybody in their community, and it's way down to earth compared to sitting here, because I'm a community chairman right now of Oak Creek Community, so I've been part of the Community Chairman's Association, but nobody ever utilizes it. And like Cher said, youth have a lot of weight. when they talk, people are going to listen to them. And it's because we don't offer much here through the tribe. So we're going to do whatever we can to assist you to develop whatever it is that you need to develop. But funding is always an issue. And that's one of the things that I'm really pushing for is economic development. I know she talked about our lumber. We have that mill set up out there now, and that is going to be really, really good. But how do you utilize those resources? That's up to this body on which direction it goes. But I will speak on your behalf and assist you in any way that I can, whether it's here. If I don't get elected, I'm still on the Community Presidents Association and I'll help you there. But funding is always going to be an issue in anything, any type of plan that we try to develop or propose. And ultimately, it's up to the council. Even if I propose what I want to propose, it's up to this body to support that and approve it. So it's not always on the chairman. I can bring proposals here every day, but if they don't have the funding for it, they're going to say no. But it's prioritizing what this body wants. And if the youth want to be included in that, you have a part on the agenda. And because we don't have a youth affairs program right now, ask for your program to be part of the council agenda to take that spot. The council agenda can always be changed. Always. There's a lot of things on there that don't need to be on there, and there's a lot of things on there that should be on there that aren't. Can I go down and answer a different question since I still have a couple minutes? What do you believe are our 3 biggest issues and concerns on our reservation, and how are you planning to solve these? Housing is a concern. Our health is a concern, and funding is a concern. Funding is a concern in every area. I think the 3 biggest issues that we have is law enforcement, our courts, our prosecutor's office. Those are the 3 biggest issues to me. And it's not that they're not doing a good job or can do a better job. It's the lack of staff and, again, lack of funding. And that's something as a chairman that I'll aggressively go after is funding for those areas, because we don't need to be hashing out law enforcement and court and prosecution issues every month here. Those complaints get old. And networking those programs together to make it easier, not just on those programs, but on the public, because you're constantly dealing with the public finding a ride to wherever and coming and seeing you, and making it simpler for them is an easy task to complete. Housing issues. I think one of the things, the tribal council gave housing a bunch of money to fix and renovate these houses that are boarded up. We have a number of houses that are boarded up. I don't know the status of that, but that's something that I would look into. I think the Rosebud community had over 100 houses that were boarded up, and I drove through St. Francis and there was, over 30 over there that were boarded up. And those are all houses that can go to families that could probably easily be fixed in no time at all, if this body worked with housing. And it's not making anybody doing anything, it's working together to accomplish something in a positive manner. And finding that funding and going after it is something that I would aggressively do. Thank you.
Take the sign sheet.
I need to go
You got another candidate? Where is that? Hey guys, so I have there's been a concern that that give some more time for the young folks here. So try to keep our so I'm just saying. So that's but okay. So try to keep it for about 3 minutes, you guys.
3 minutes.
I'm sorry about that. I like the one you guys gave me this time. I like that. Yeah.
Ayata kumani pagata kia we throwing trage ota u o hena le halon going on ki hena I how we trunk speak doctor heta. I just wanted to say that, you know, we have generations coming. Youth are so important. You know, I have great grandchildren now, and we have to provide a place where they can feel comfortable in our homes. We have to provide something for them in the future. And so they are so important. And anything I can do on a personal level, I will help, because they are our future generations. And so, you know, a lot of the youth probably don't know who I am, but I've been involved in your projects, and I remember going to one of your programs, reaching out to the youth, talking to them. I'm a resource person. I can go do those kind of things. And I think it needs to happen in every community. And one of the things that I see is we need to go back to our communities. You know, we need to work with our communities, reinforce our communities. That's how Tioshpai used to live back in the day. They took care of one another. They took care of each other to make sure that someone is learning something. And, you know, that's kind of a hard sell today, but that's why we have all these communities here on the Rosebud, because of the Tioshpai system. And we need to go back to that and reach out back to them and reinforce the teachings of our ancestors. And I think we can get along a lot better, you know, dealing with our youth, dealing with the drugs. You know, we can do a lot. It's just that it takes leadership. Leadership is really important. If you have somebody sitting up there and really pounding away at creating something for a youth or doing something for them, it'll happen. But it's going to take leadership. It's going to take this tribal council to really, you know, I've been sitting here for many years, and a lot of times we have a big discussions. I call it lip service, because we talk about it, but nothing really gets done. Nothing really gets pushed. But I think it can happen. We can make changes. You know, we need to reinforce our communities. We need to go back to that system. We need to maybe even re-educate our own people, how our ancestors lived. I think that's really important. You know, we do our best in my community. You know, we try our best. I try to teach our young people certain things, the language, the culture, our ceremonies. And I do that, you know, and I educate my grandchildren, my children, my grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And that's a way of me giving back, you know, to our youth. But going back to, and I'm going to go beyond that, you know, again, going back to that Tioshpai system, you know, a long time ago, we didn't have homelessness, but we do now. And maybe some of these guys have certain addictions, you know, and that's why they stay away. We just talked about that today. You know, our communities, you know, we have that homelessness. It's out there, and they want to be by themselves because that Tioshpai system fell apart. Relatives don't want to take in this guy because he's into Peji, you know, that kind of mentality, you know. But I think we can change that. There's some changes that we have to make, and our people really need that push too. I think we can do so many things to re-educate our people. There's things we have million acres of land here. And some of these, I heard today that this guy came back here, got out of prison, came home. This is his home, but yet he's pushed away. I guess he wanted a home. Well, he's looking for a tent now. He said, where can I camp? Where can I set up my, to me, he's still a tribal member here. We have 1 million acres. He can pick a site and camp out if that's what he chooses to do. But we know we're so structured now today that we keep pushing our own people away. And I think we need to get away from that. And that's one of the things I can do. We have access to the radio. We have access to the TV. I have resources that we can bring in and talk to our people to re-educate our own people on how it should be. We generate a lot of money, lease income. Lease income is a big thing here. Majority of that is going to TLE. I can't remember the dollar amount, but it's around $7-8 million that they get. Our tribe gets maybe 2 million. When you do the math, something is wrong with the picture. We should be getting a lot more for our land than what's portrayed, So we need to seriously look at that and see how we can develop our land and our land base and utilize it in a good way. I'm all for that. Homelessness, it's addiction related, homelessness. But we need to correct that. I heard, we were going to build 100 houses. My community was first to submit a proposal here with ARPA. And we wanted to build at least 4 or 5 of those small homes right in our community so that our people have access to those homes. But now I'm hearing that, 1 minute, thank you. Now I'm hearing that it's the application process. If you've got good credit, or if you want a lending agency to come and out, our people aren't used to that. So we need to really seriously think about that and try to help our people in a good way. But I'm going to leave here shortly. And so I just wanted to share a few words to the people because we have a celebration coming up here in the next few days. And I want our people to come and enjoy themselves and to have a good time. And school is starting and, this is the last end of the summer. And our people really need to come and enjoy themselves at the fair and activities for our kids and ball games and rodeos and carnival, whatever's out there. I want them to have fun. I don't want incidents like what happened on our neighbors over here to the west, the Oglalas. It was a bad incident and it just everywhere. But I want our people to really have a good time, enjoy themselves. And, I'm running for vice president. And I'm hoping that people can take me into consideration in voting for me. If not, that's okay too. I'm still going to do things that I'm doing. And I'm still going to be that resource person. Even though some people don't like to talk to me because I talk too much. One of the things I was going to do was not say too much. If you keep quiet, you get elected. And then you can come here at the council and sit here quiet for 3 years and no one misses that. So I was going to play that trick, but I guess I'm just too mouthy. But I want people to know who I am, where I come from. And I've been here a long time. I know a lot of these guys that are running for office. And so it is an honor for me to be able to run for a higher office. I want to know what these chairmen are going to do. I want to know if they're going to really be set up there and have a backbone and do the things to move things along. I'm willing to help them and work with them if that's the route they're going to go. Or are they going to cater to the tribal council and not do anything? So that's kind of my thing. So I just wanted to thank the Oyate. Ea tona nakop na nakap ko hana wopile chichiapelo. Ea le ampetu yamani ki ea wana trajeo pekiam o hana wachinia piktelo. Namira wachinchia piktelo. Ea helogana ea hoye chichiapelo. Well, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for allowing me more than 1 minute. Somebody wanted me to stop at 1 minute, but thank you. I'm going to take my leave now. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell.
Should have been quiet.
You said it all in one breath. Did you say that in one breath?
Alrighty. I plan to create a larger youth presence in community decision-making. Speaking as a youth myself, being the youngest candidate for this election, I sit here as a vessel because I still am youthful. I still have a lot of relations with youth, and working at the immersion school, the youth have always been my priority. It's in our constitution that we think about the next 7 generations, and that's them and their kids and grandkids that are still in the stars. So I stand here to be that vessel as a projection of your voice, of all of our voices as youth. And there's what has been said by the other candidates. There are things in place that need to be tapped into, but I think we need to address, are we really telling the youth what power they have? Are we educating them that they can come here? Or are we providing that accessibility? We would have more authority over St. Francis Indian School to provide transportation here to meetings for their youth council, for their student council. We could provide the same opportunity for Todd County, White River, all of our tribal citizens that attend these K-12 institutions. And as a part of youth, I don't want to leave out those that are over 18 and under 30, because that's the age that they're still young adults, still trying to learn how to live life in this messed up world. So how can we advocate for them, especially for those that were courageous and had the privilege and opportunity to leave and want to come back? How are we going to provide space for them, like myself? So youth has a wide range, from walking to 30. How are we going to make space for all of them? It's just educate them and increase their accessibility to be present. And like I said, I myself am youth. I am a youth. I want to be a part of that change. I want to be able to be that voice for you all. And Chagla, that's all I got to say on that one.
Kathy, go ahead and introduce yourself, and you can say a few words about yourself before you answer the question.
Before what?
Before you answer the question.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Everybody's been wondering where I am, where I've been. And so I'm here tonight. This is Kathy Woodenknife. I am from Akichita Wakpa, Soldier Creek community. I sat on tribal council for 6 years, and then I termed out. And a lot of people came to me and encouraged me, inspired me to come back to tribal council, which I currently am a tribal council representative. However, a lot of people came again to visit me. And I always get the 3-minute warning, so I like to talk a lot sometimes, but I see all these questions here, and what I have to say is that a lot of people campaign on youth and elders, and a lot of people probably don't know too much about me other than what they hear and see when I'm here in the council chambers. But I didn't campaign my first year because I was a government employee and I couldn't. I didn't campaign the second year because I sat here for 3 years. I was very vocal. I don't believe in making broken promises. I don't believe in making false hopes. I was raised by my grandmother, and she instilled morals, values in me. I hold my integrity at a high standard. I don't like to say, I'm going to do this. I was looking over the questions, and a lot of these questions, we've been here. We all know the needs. We know that there is rarely anything to encourage and inspire our youth. And because of how I feel about making commitments and promises that I can't keep, what I found out sitting here 6 years and coming back again and being a part of a tribal program that has begged and asked for assistance. When you're sitting in this circle, there are 20 of you. If over half do not agree with what you're saying, what you want to say when you're campaigning and you come here prepared. I came here unprepared. I know in my heart what I want. I have had hardships. I have been without a job. I've been homeless. I've been without money. I've been without a car and hitchhiked to work. I've been in situations that a lot of you listening to me have been in. I, from experience, know what the needs of our people are, young and old. And because of that, and because of the compassion that I have for people, I chose to put my name in and run because I have witnessed sitting here firsthand the disappointment, the discouraging actions that we do or don't make. And because of that, and because of being a part of it and watching it, you know, I have said things that I feel could make a difference. Am I heard? No. Am I listened to? No. I was told by an elder that sat here that there was a lot of disrespect, there's a lot of division, and there is. And if we're going to help anyone, then we have to have unity. I have a platform, I have an agenda. And if and when I am elected as the first female president of the Sioux Nation for the Rosebud Sioux tribe, at that point in time, I will look at what the needs are and I will do everything I can. But I will not, and I cannot set myself up for failure. I can't sit here and say, I'm going to do this, this is my plan, this is what I see. I can't. I see it. I experience it. I watch our kids. And a lot of the detrimental things that happen to our youth today are based on drugs. Our law enforcement needs to be enhanced. It needs to be tightened up. There is so much. There's a lot of need. Those of us that sit here, those of us that are a part of it, we know, we hear. People contact us. We see reports, we see things. And so we know what we need to do. In this position as a council rep, in a seat as a president, a vice president, we know what needs to be done. But we have to do that together. That action has to come from each and every one in unity. Personal agendas, personal feelings, doing favors. You know, when I say disappointment, you know, our people complain that it's always who you know, not what you know. We encourage our youth to go and get an education. They come back. I've witnessed it sitting in a circle. Very talented. I have one sitting next to me. Very educated. That can make a difference for our tribe. But it's really unfair how that favoritism works, where who you're related to, who you're best friends with. I've seen and witnessed a lot of things that happen behind closed doors. Sometimes I'm left out of things. There's things that I don't know because I am vocal, because I'm not afraid to speak up. I was raised by a matriarch. She was never afraid to speak up for people, and I am the same way. People can look at me and smile and turn away from me and say something negative behind my back. But the way I was raised, if I have a job to do with you, it doesn't matter if you like me or you don't like me. It is my job and my responsibility to show respect and to still be cordial. Because when you're in a professional setting, anything personal, you leave at the door. In this council chambers, this chambers belongs to the people. The people elect us and the people put us here. We have to listen to them. That's my plan. That's part of my platform, is to listen. What I've done 6 years, plus the last 3 years, I put a lot of stuff on my Facebook because, of course, social media is everywhere. Recently, I put that my first year here, I sat with Webster Tuhawk, and I respected him. And I sat over in the corner, and I said, Webster, I don't belong here. I said, I'm not a politician. Because of my integrity, I don't feel like I fit in. And he said, you do. You do because of what's in your chante. He said, you have worked hard. You know what it's like to work to put that dollar in your pocket. So because of that, you're going to do well. And because of his encouragement, I stayed, because I was going to leave at that point in time. And every year that I sat here after that, his encouraging words kept me here. He said, be yourself, always be yourself. And that's what I do. You know, if I feel something's wrong, I'm going to speak up. If I feel something's right, I'm going to support it, because I'm not afraid to do that. When you're in one of these positions, it's not like a job where you can get fired for what you do or say unless there's something filed against you and your colleagues find you guilty and remove you. You have that right to speak up because you're representing the people that put you in the seat. As a president, you have a responsibility of the administrative part of this tribe. The council reps that sit here, we make the decisions that affect each and every one of our council members, our tribal members, we as a council. As president, it's another avenue of responsibility. Administratively, you are going to be overseeing. It's a challenge. It's a large organization that you become responsible for. And the decisions you make are going to be looked at by everyone, that a decision you make, a yes or a no decision, any decision that you make sitting in that position representing this tribe, it's going to weigh heavy on you, because you have to use your naka. You've got to think about what you're doing. To me, you have to have compassion. If you feel what the people feel, if you've been through what our people have been through, you have a clear understanding. To me, that helps you to benefit and to get everybody to a level where we're going to help each other. Taking on the responsibility of the tribal presidency is not a task that's going to be seen immediately. It's going to take time. There are the Constitution, there are our bylaws, there are treaties, there are a lot of things that have been violated that need to be put back in order. Our tribe needs reorganization and structure. To me, it's like with the IHS. When I worked there and came to the tribe, they always recirculated the same people. We've kind of done that. And so when you do that, it kind of becomes the norm. It's hard to come out of that pattern to do something different. Maybe it's going to take somebody that's never sat in that seat before to make that change, to take yourself out of the box and to look in, to bring new ideas in that are realistic. We can't be shooting for something that isn't going to help us with our current situation. There are things within our tribe, there are situations that we need to deal with now. We have to look at that next 7 generations, but before we get there, we have to fix what's here. There is so much damage that has occurred that we need to put back into perspective to get us back on that right track, to move forward as a tribe. There was a time that this tribe was number one in everything. The other tribes looked to us. We need to get back there. And given the opportunity to be elected as a tribal president, my goal will be to try to get us there. And I'm sorry I'm not going to answer any of these, but like I said, sitting here and being a part of this council, being a tribal member, a mother, a grandmother, a sister, an aunt, I see all of this and I know what we need to do. It's getting there, but we have to work together to get there. And if the people want to trust me and support me, then I encourage everyone, you have the power to vote. Take advantage of that, because if you don't, and you don't like something that happens, you didn't make that effort to go and do what's needed to be done, and that's vote for whoever it is you feel strongest is going to make a difference. That person that's really gonna feel and understand, have that compassion to be humble enough to not want to be better, to make more money. It should never be about money. Yes, we need money, but that should not be the focus. So I guess that's about, I didn't get the rest of my 1-minute warning. I usually always get a warning when I'm sitting in council meetings because I get carried away, but I just wanted to come and introduce myself and let you all know that I do have a platform. I do have an agenda of what I want to do. It's all going to be based on what happens on Thursday. If I'm elected to sit as our first tribal female president, at that time, when I put a cabinet together of people that have expertise in all the areas of need that we need to meet, then I will let the people know this is the direction we're going to go. I have to be assured that I have the people that are going to be honest, reliable, that are going to have that integrity, and that are really going to work together as one to make that difference. That's about all I have to say. Otherwise, I'm going to probably take up another 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. That was good. You know, it's kind of getting late, so I'm wondering if we should just, everyone could just make a last few statements. You can answer the question, or you can just give a few more. Yeah, okay. All right, go right ahead. Go ahead.
My name's Rodney Bordo, and I'm running for Rosebud council rep. And again, like you guys said, you guys invited council members, only one person. It's not that hard to get on your phone and make some phone calls, you know. You guys have to fight to get your voice heard. First responders have to fight. The police, as Steve said, he only got invited to council a few times. It's not that hard for us to work around our committee meetings and then go and sit in on your meetings and invite you guys to come sit in on ours. It's not that difficult. And over the past few years, it's been like council has been hiding from the people, like hiding from elders and hiding from youth. People are afraid to answer the questions, but it's not supposed to be like that. We're here to serve you guys, hear from you guys, and work with you guys. There's ways to generate money. Council's been running half their meetings in executive, making donations to who knows what, you know, half the time. There's ways to generate money with our land. We need to work a lot more with TLE because, you know, these Wasichis are out here just laughing at us. You know, they know how to work land. They're over here overgrazing. You know, we should be backing up our tribal businesses, our tribal ranchers, and trying to advocate to work with our land and generate more profit off of that. And a lot of this just goes with miscommunication as well. it's not that hard to get on your phone and make a phone call and schedule a meeting. You know, half the time council has a committee meeting, they don't know what they're talking about. No one discusses anything beforehand, like how they're supposed to, and approving all these minutes and stuff like that. Just goes with preparedness and your work ethic. And if elected, I'll work hard for you guys. That's about it.
Good. Royal?
Hey, Chatewashta na Petrus Papalo, Royal Yellowhawk, Hida community. Excuse me. First thing I want to encourage people to come out and vote. I know, when it comes to getting out there to the poll and our thoughts are when I look at the numbers on the wall, and then I think about our tribal people, the enrollment, the how many voters come out actually to put their name on the voters list, and then I know it's discouraging at some points, and our people, do we believe in our tribal government? Do we put all our hopes and dreams in our youth? Do we invest in our youth? So I think about these numbers on the wall, and I think about the disenfranchised, the people that go to the polls, or the people who ain't on the lists, all these things, the people who are deceased are still on the list. So all these questions come to mind when it comes to a tribal election, because what I was told was, and what I want to encourage youth, was that our traditional form of government, we had Tiwahe, Tioshpaye, and Oshpaye, and Oyate. There's four levels of traditional government. Tiwahe makes up a mom and a dad and the children. So 7 Tiwahes make up Tioshpaye. 7 Tioshpayes make up Oshpaye. So Oshpaye is a community. Originally there was only 7, but now we got like Parmali, and there was once an old community called Tinazipa, right out where Art Running Horse's place. So we had this old traditional government. We had our own traditional way of living, our Oshpaye. So we want to believe that law enforcement works for us. But in the Oshpaye, we all knew who lived in that community. We all knew who belonged. We governed ourselves. We policed ourselves. We didn't depend on anybody else to provide food, shelter. As a Oshpaye, we all knew who belonged in that Oshpaye. We all knew how to go out, look out for each other, how to gather food, how to provide those ceremonies for the youth. Every community has youth, Takomani. There's 4 generations, 7 generations, and within that youth, they have to have a purpose. So within these ceremonies for the youth, there's pride, identity. So we look at these flags here. There's a guidon. There's these guidons right here. Be prideful. Be prideful that the Battle of Little Bighorn, they rode here for the celebration. So in that celebration, there's things. Be prideful. We're the only people that ever took the flags from the United States government. And for that, they really divided the Lakota. So when I look back on the Navajo Nation, over 200,000 members, but they wanted to divide the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, so we're all spread out. They don't want us to be together because we're the only. So there's pride within us, and there's culture, and there's language. So when I look at the youth, there's ceremonies that give them purpose. It gives them purpose, what they need to do within their oshpaye, what they need to do within their oyate. For example, there's somebody that kept the fire, Heta Yohamani. So they were the ones who took the fire to the next camp, and then people went and got the fire. So there's all these things, there's purpose, even with a winter camp. There was a family that kept the winter camp. So there's a purpose for every person within the community that had a purpose. So I know so as a community, they all got together. If there was gonna have for boys, for a male, it's called Sinte Okiapi. They got their first coup stick. For girls, it was called a shnati. They got their first buckskin dress. So within these points, between Wetu and Ptayatu, every new moon, they put up a tipi and they gave them life skills to live. And I want to reflect on being in a meeting. Victor DeVille talked about social reform, where too many single-parent families. And when I did an adjunct at SGU, there was a book that came out, Lakota America. This guy in England did research on our people. And in that book, he misled people about our women, because to him, when he saw one man with many wives, he said that these women were part of his what he had, looking for the words, but anyways, to him, he had all the power because he had all these women wives. But to us, we know that as an older brother, and you have your brothers, you're committed to take care of your brother's children, because if your brother went out to war and died, you were going to take care of his children, and you were going to take care of his wife. It doesn't mean that was your partner. So there was all these things that were misled. My daughter, she went to college, and I told her, there's too many books out there about us, written by Washuchila, but need to be written by natives, written by us. I'll say that much. I encourage everybody to register. If you haven't now, I'll say that much. Royal Yellow Peacock. Oh.
Thank you, Royal. And if anyone wants to say some final words, you can. I'm just going to say something real quick. We have so many inquiries, not only on the YouTube chat, but I'm getting messages also, people asking to hear your thoughts on the tribal civil rights for tribal members. And I know the tribe is working on an office, and people want to use the Whistleblower Act. The tribe has a new Whistleblower Act, and they are, a couple people mentioned they're running into a brick wall there. So you can think about that if you get elected, kind of think about those people. We have questions on tribal enrollment, and many questions on tribal enrollment. Funding for the ambulance service, people wanted to know. They're saying that some of the ambulance people are some of the lowest paid employees, and they really need to be thought of when you get in office. And people are asking, how is the council going to create reservation businesses? Many people want to know about the ARPA funding expenditures, past and present, and about the people who are on the waiting list to get their homes repaired. Would they want more opportunities for the youth? We have questions on, a question asking, if you were elected to council, would you be willing to work 8 to 5 and get paid for 8 to 5? And then there's a question about the influence of cliques on the council or organized groups in the council and how we can limit that. A lady was very interested in what is your plan to do to take care of the stray dogs, curb the amount of stray dogs and these packs of dogs in every community. And then, of course, there's many questions about housing and homelessness. So anyone who wants to say their final words, you can talk on any of these. Of course, there's a lot more. There's questions on the treaties too. But go ahead, because this is your opportunity. The election's only a few short days away, so, and we've got a lot of people still online watching, and I know this is YouTube, and I'm sure they're watching on Channel 93 and listening on Koya also. So who wants to go first? Go ahead. Anyone? Okay, sure. Go ahead, Rodney.
I really hope people go in to vote because over the past few years, you guys might have forgotten because council's been dismissive of everyone and just been kind of closing themselves off from the public a lot. And that's kind of like these first responders, like how she mentioned about the ambulance being underpaid and stuff like that. We're supposed to serve you guys, not the other way around. So just remember that when you guys go out and to vote, because your vote matters. And if you want change, it's time to make it. And I'm not afraid of all these cliques and stuff in the council. The only thing I'm afraid of is seeing our people suffer anymore. And I'll just close that off with that. Again, vote for Rodney Bordo, Rosebud Council Rep.
Okay, thank you, Rodney. Anyone else? Next? It's your time. Kathy, go ahead.
This is Kathy. With everything you read off, there are answers for all of that. And there are actions that can be taken for all of that. There are things that I disagree with. But like I mentioned earlier, unless you have a majority of people sitting in your circle that agree with you, if you have a solution, if you have a mechanism, anything in place that can change that, you have to have that support. You have to all be on the same page. That's why I brought up unity. And I'll bring it up again, unless we're all agreeing on the majority of what's going to help, what's going to benefit the people, we have to work together. Those of us that sit here have to work together to make that change. And so with everything that you read off, I didn't write it down, but I would give an answer for almost every single one of them. I'm going to mention something, and it seems like every time I do something from my heart to help in any way, then somehow I get accused of campaigning. Well, right now I get to campaign, but what I'm going to talk about is not a part of campaigning. What I'm going to talk about is actuality. I have been working with the animals for 8 years now. I started doing that when I was on council. And it started off with a group, with an unofficial meeting that Willie Kindle allowed me to have. With that group, and the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of people have a misconception of it. There was a lot of people that were on board that were going to help. First meeting, this whole council chambers was full. Every program was going to be a part of it. Our first meeting, there was 3 of us. Their second meeting, there was 2 of us. The third meeting, it was me. And it's been me. Because I love animals, because I have that compassion for the 4-legged, they're a part of our culture. They're a part of us. In every effort that I've made throughout the years, whether I was on or off council, I've had to fight for them. When the homeless shelter opened, I was the one behind opening it. We bought the land and something needed to be done with the building. And I said to TLE, well, we can make it a homeless shelter. They said, who's going to want to stay in a funeral home? I said, somebody that doesn't have anywhere to go. And so we are having an Arctic cold front. We opened it up. For 2 years, it ran without funding. It ran with donations and volunteers. At that same time, I started working on animal care and control. A vet who is no longer here with us, Dr. Eric Jane, came here, and he got in touch with an organization called Banfield. They remodeled the building where the animal clinic is now. It was the same thing. That was property we as a tribe had to buy because it was in our name, even though the deal that caused it to come to us was an under-the-table deal. But it was given to animal care and control indefinitely. I have written grants on my own because I'm a grant writer. I have helped people. I don't ask for people to give me kudos for it. It was very discouraging and disappointing for people to say to me, "Oh, you got in last time because of the animals." I'm hearing that again, that, "Oh, she's getting votes because of the animals." I'm not. What I do with the animals, I do on my own time. I've invested a lot of my life into them. And as far as the strays, I wrote a grant. We had a designer come from Colorado because you have to have the design first. I have asked for funding for years to build an animal shelter. It's called an animal resource center. I've got the grant for the schematic design. Now I need the funding. Once the funding's there and we can build a shelter, then the strays can be picked up. I worked with people out of Rapid City to get 2 mobile clinics to go out and go to every community to fix dogs, because people don't have the money, they don't have the transportation. I'm taking this opportunity to talk about this because I don't when we're in meetings. I don't like being accused of things that I didn't do or say. What I say is the truth, and it's not to benefit me. What I do for the animals and their owners is from my heart. It's because I know there's a need, and I still go there. When I'm not here, I'm at the animal clinic, and I'm not paid to be there. I do it because it's in my heart to do it, and I will continue to do it until I'm no longer alive. I have a lifetime commitment to the 4-legged because they're my healer. When I lost my husband to cancer, it was the animals that helped me through that. And it's the animals that help me now. They're a part of our culture, and people need to understand that. It's the 2-legged who are responsible for strays. It's the 2-legged that are not taking care of those animals. It's not them. What they do for fight or flight. They do it to survive. And we've helped a lot of people. I've written a lot of grants to help everyone's animals. There are people that sit here that I've helped. But I just wanted to say that everything that you said, I know that those are the concerns. There are a lot of things that we're doing right now. People are concerned about this with the election, the special election. People are contacting council reps because there's not adequate time. People aren't getting the ballots. And it's something that should not have come up yet. People are saying, what's the rush? Why are we doing this? The last thing on here, I seen compacting. So I will voice, that is the last thing I'm going to talk on. I do not support the 638 compacting at this point because we're not ready for it. We don't want to buy a used car that's going to break down. We want a car that's going to run good. We want something that's going to be reliable and dependable. I came from IHS. I have nothing against anyone there or IHS, but it needs to be at least 99% before this tribe takes over on it. We need doctors. We need funding. The ambulance service, something came to this floor. I was a part of it, and I plan on rescinding that motion. There's one of the programs wants to compact. That compact is going to help the ambulance service. It's not a part of the IHS compacting. People here knew, others knew that what that discussion was about. Those of us coming in were not privy to that information. And so it was put on hold, and I found out afterwards. So I will be bringing that back because yes, the ambulance service is underpaid, and it's just as important as any other program that has a high wage because they're saving lives. But that's all I have to say, and I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Foster, did you want to have some final words?
Yeah, just gonna go down the line. Hamidaki Epi, Lemie Foster, Denoyer Hogan, Matkaluzaha Oyunke, Waimananke, running for Swift Bear Council Rep. Just last minute words. Lakho unspeaking unkumpikte, unkiche tupikte, dua omniche yankapikta cha oyate kin awicha yankapikte, dua si chanhu naish lakhota we maha egnaka cha dua awicha yankapi, lena echunkumpikte oyate kin dayan unki chaha piktelo cha zania mauni piktelo cha dayan unkumpikte medaki epi hot hanka charge nitrawapi unkumpi unkumpi. Relatives, I'm going to ask you to use your voice and cast your name out in this election. And the things that we do, if we embed it in Lakota knowledge, things will be okay. We will be good. And to those that sit in this Oniche, this council, it's our responsibility to look after everyone. Everyone that has Sichanghu blood in them. We need to look after them. When we do this, the Oyate, they're gonna grow. We're gonna develop. Naha Oyate kin daya witaya naji pikte. We gotta stand together in a healthy way. Stand together well so we can flourish like we once were. You know, you say Lakota out there, they know we're the ones that beat Custer. We need to be back at that state. We need to be our contemporary enemies. Whoever that may be, whatever that may be. Lakota bi. Lana lechumse na lana echunkopikte. We can do it, and we have done it. Echagla pilamea.
Thank you, Foster. Okay, Steve, are you going to go next?
Yeah, I want to say that I didn't get to say everything tonight. And again, I apologize for not getting out there as much as I wanted to, because of personal reasons. But I want to reiterate myself. The people are disconnected from tribal government. And that's a gap that I know that I can close by going into communities and the community settings and explaining to the people what we're doing here. And I won't make decisions based off of emotions. I take criticism really, really well because I learn from it. You learn so much from people coming in here and saying things to you and telling you how you could do things better. That's something that I do really well. And I'm not afraid to go into communities and discuss things no matter what the situation is. That's something that needs to be done, and that's going to bring a lot of respect back here. One of the things that I know that I can do is keep our council focused on what we're supposed to do, what their job is and what my job is. And I don't want to talk about anybody who was there prior before me, because I want to move forward in a positive way and work together with the council, with the Community Chairman's Association and our communities. I can't do this alone. We're going to have to work together. I really feel that our tribe went backwards a little bit, but we can strive forward and become leaders again. And that's what I bring to the table. we're ready for change and I'm ready to lead. That's my slogan, and I'm ready to lead our tribe in a good way with a strong voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Stevie.
Now I'll go eat.
Hello,
Okay, Sherry.
everybody. Sherry Wright, Right Plank, running for Rosebud Community Council Representative. There's so much to say, but I just want to start with the fact that, this job is always looked upon as, when I get in council, this is what I'm going to do. And a lot of people come to this place, even the presidency. I mean, we have a former president in the room right now. You come to this job and you realize there's a lot more to it than meets the eye when you're watching Channel 93. Oh, thank you. When you're watching Channel 93, those council meetings, those 3 meetings a month, that's not all the work you do as a council representative. You take phone calls up till midnight sometimes. It depends. If there's a house fire in the middle of the night and it's your community member, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to go out and do work for the people in the community, helping them with food. Those are things that I have had to do, help people with food. Sherry, I got a placement, 6 kids, they got placed with me. I need food. Do we have resources for that here to help them? No, we don't. So I put out a message on Facebook. Can anybody help? We gather up whatever food we can, take it to them. Sometimes that's what being a council rep is, but a lot of our job, according to the Constitution, is that we're legislators. And, when I talk about our nation and our people, it's really difficult for us to move forward because of lateral oppression. We shouldn't sit here and point the finger at so-and-so, oh, because this administration did this or didn't do that. I had to work for the tribe during one of the most difficult times during COVID. People were sick, people were dying from this unknown disease that our people faced. I had to work through this council and have this seat when we had one of the biggest snowstorms our people have seen since 1979. I volunteered during that time. I risked it and drove here and to the water resources. I helped pack up food, unload, pack up heaters. I did everything that I needed to. Whatever they needed. Sherry, can you do this? Can you call this person? I was taking calls from the public. So sometimes, being a council representative requires you rolling up your sleeves. I do that for the people. I sit here as an educated woman who tries to make the best decisions for the people based on the facts that I'm given. And I also roll up my sleeves and get out and help my Oyate when it's needed. I have seen a lot of things throughout my life. I'm only 43 years old and I'm not claiming to know everything. But I've grown up here and I see what lateral oppression has done to our people. It's so easy to point the finger and say, these people didn't do a good job or that person didn't do a good job, and not knowing what they had to face. And we have had so many leaders in my family that I'm proud of that made our laws, our Constitution. My grandpa, Andrew Blackwolf, my grandpa, Clayton Wright, my grandpa, Norman Wilson. I have a lot of family members that have sat in these seats. So I grew up hearing conversations about our tribe, about our people, about the way things used to be, the way things should be. And since I was 13 years old, I worked for my people. As a young person, I started doing things because there was nothing for us to do in the community. And I went to a community meeting and I tried complaining. And the elders in that community, they probably weren't even elders back then. I was only 13, so they were probably young people, told me to do something about it. And how could they support me? So we hosted dances every summer. We did dances every Friday. We did community cleanup because we wanted to beautify our community. We did all kinds of things. We did Christmas caroling. We did sled riding. We did so many things for the community when I was a young woman. And I was blessed to be able to run for pageants. And through that pageant life, it opened up my eyes to not just here and the things we have here, but I was exposed to a lot of smart people throughout the nation, throughout the tribal nations. all the tribes. I had the opportunity to sit with the Shakopee Business Council, listen to them, see how they work, see how things work there, see how other tribes do business. I'm proud to say that I'm a Native Nation rebuilder. And when I talk about nation rebuilding, you know, that's the key here to our people. We need to rebuild a nation. In 1950 or in 1850, right before we signed the 1851 treaty that established our territory, they started the Buffalo Wars because our people could not be defeated by warfare. Our bows and arrows stood up to their guns, to their cannons. I'm proud of that. I think that's amazing. But what did they do? They turned around and General Dodge, his theory, his quote was, kill every buffalo that you can. Every buffalo dead is an Indian gone. And that tells me that we were so fierce as a nation that the only way that they could defeat us was by taking away our economy. Tonight, we're talking about so many things, about culture, about medicine, about all of these things, but the one thing we're forgetting to talk about is our economy. We're stuck. And people say things about me. Oh, she thinks like a Washichu. All she cares about is money. A long time ago, we bartered because we didn't have money. Now, through currency, money is what we use to barter with. That's what we use to fund these programs, to fund our elder programs, our youth programs, to send people out. I think today we approved 5 people to get money to help them with their flyouts and their appointments. You know, so it is important. It's not the core of our existence. It's not, I'm not saying that, but it's something that we need to focus on, rebuilding our economy. And we have the blueprint for it. Our people did it for years. Royal said it when he was talking. Everybody had a place. Everybody had a job. Everybody had a purpose. We need that now. We need that again. But we can't put people to work if we don't have funding. I want to take a little bit of time to talk about how our tribe is funded. So there's federal and state programs that give money to our tribe. There's also the budgets are set for the 638 programs, like our law enforcement, our ambulance service, all of those are set by discretionary funds from the President of the United States. Then that trickles down. So we have this pot that trickles down to the Department of Interior. Then from there, that money trickles down to tribes. And it doesn't matter if we're a Shakopee tribe who's wealthy or if we're a Rosebud Sioux tribe who's the second impoverished nation in the whole United States. They all still get their same allocation, and those hardly ever increase. Over years, we have the same problem. People going to Washington. I am not doubting that any council in the past hasn't gone to DC and lobbied for funds. They have. Have they gotten them? Has it been successful? So it hasn't been successful. That's why we really need to assess and do an analysis of our assets and see what we can do to establish some resources to better strengthen our local economy and create jobs for people. Once we can create jobs for people, then we can create more money within our economy, which can sustain local businesses. And once we start being able to sustain local businesses, that will empower our local entrepreneurs. So we won't just be depending on these government entities here to provide us jobs. People can get their own jobs. People can make their own jobs, and that's powerful. And our people are good business people. Regardless of what people say about Indians, they're not good business people. We are. Go back into history and look. Our people have always been amazing business people. I feel like I want to address the 100 Homes project quickly because it's confusing a lot of people, and there's so much people saying things that our people aren't used to mortgages. We shouldn't have to do this or that. So our idea behind the 100 Homes project was to build 100 homes and sell them. Take that money and build more homes. And they don't have to be homes. They could be apartment complexes, they could be elder complexes. But if we build 100 homes and give them away, then there's going to be no more homes after that. So it's about sustainability. And that's why when I talk and I say I'm for economic development and I'm for sustainability, there are ways here that we can sustain our local economy. There are ways we can sustain so our people can have these programs and these opportunities that won't end because the funding ran out. With that, I just want to say thank you for your time today. I know I really talked a lot. I have so much information. If you're not following me on Facebook, a lot of times I go live and I update on what the council's doing. I always answer my phone. If I don't answer it, I call back because I get a lot of phone calls. I usually get about 160 to 200 phone calls a month. So I just want to put that out there and including Facebook messages too. But I'm working on a lot of projects that I want to complete. I want to see a lot of things through that I started and I want to see them finished. That's why I'm running for reelection. So I want to humbly ask for your support to vote for Sherry Wright Plank for continuity, for positivity, for sustainability, and for a voice for the people, because I always listen to what my people say. Wopila Tonka.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else? Okay, well, I want to thank the youth group, Tokala Inagio. Did you want to say any final words?
Yeah. On behalf of the Youth Council and Tacala Nagio Youth Leadership Mentoring Program, thank you guys for having us and allowing us to ask these very important questions. And
I want to say that even if you guys don't get elected into these positions, you guys are also still welcome to come to all of our meetings, come and help mentor our youth. I think you guys have a lot of great ideas and great plans for the future. So we just extend that open invite to everybody, and thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay. And remember, the election is on Thursday, August 22nd. Polls open at 8 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Be sure and get out and vote. This is a real crucial election for our people this year, I feel, and Offer feels. And thank you all to the candidates that showed up here tonight. We had a good showing of people online and on the radio and on TV watching tonight, so you know it's important. So remind your people to vote Thursday. Thank you.
He's a grown man. Not anymore. Yeah, it's all right. The car is a brand new car, so there's too much lighting up on the policy. Your car. Yeah, 2024.
I still have to send you the
Fancy shops in Parma.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, after our last meeting, then I had COVID. Oh. Yeah, so we were out, and then all my son got it, and then my whole family got it.
Oh,
and
dear.
the whole thing. Thanks for coming, Foster.
Appreciate it.
Christy left.
Sounds good. The last time he brought it up today. I know. Just listening. He does. He's like, you know, same thing. He said, same thing. He said, and I'm sitting on the nah, he's awesome. So yeah, he loves it. He loves it. You should see the way you cut that.
Thank you.
You're good, man. Look good. So hopefully we're not just going off with what we've done, but what we can do. I hope to see these reps at the meeting tomorrow. I'll do. Thank you.
I'll make sure our camera works. Okay, on there. Yes. Yeah, we'll see you. Thank you for coming again. You did great. And then I think I grabbed one, so.
I didn't even come in and ask questions. What's up? I said, are you gonna get to come in and ask questions?
Final resolution.
The final resolution.
Because we sent it to her. So that she got.
What are you calculating?
I'm early.
Yeah, they were first on 10, I can be here at 10. 9:30?
See you first. So that, because well, we don't have no president anymore. So.
No, it's Oh, yeah. Okay, this is still here. So good job.
They did. I thought they did a really good job.
Foster and I, we both did a very good job.
Oh, I'm impressed with both of them. I've known Foster my whole life,
Yeah.
so it's really nice to see. You know,
Yeah.
my grandpa's impressed with him too.